Part 55. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 542. Chapter 542, Xiao is in charge. After putting her bag on her back, Hua carried her child to the garage. She knew how to drive. When she came back, her mother-in-law bought her a car. She had never had the chance to drive it because she was pregnant. Now she is fine, she almost always drives by herself when she goes out. Especially after her mother returned to Xiangguo. As soon as the car rang, the old man and old lady who were still noisy in the front hall heard it and started to stir. Doing this doesn't happen every day or two. It's all you, old man and you've made my great-grandson's wife angry again. The old lady was actually a little worried about driving out. Young master, what do you mean it's me? It's obviously you. I've told you that it's wrong for you to do that, but you just don't listen. Okay, the two of you started arguing again. If it's weekend, the house will be more lively. No, I shouldn't say lively, that's noisy. Several old men and women didn't even come, brothers and sisters from the same family came over one by one. This child is now the first in the fifth generation of the He family. Everybody likes them very much. When he arrived at He Xiu's office, Hua seemed to be relieved and threw the child directly to him, who was busy. Your son is really in demand. There are quarrels at home every day. What do you think we should do? Hua Xingfu said painfully. Why, the old man is here again today. The old man Xiao mentioned was Mr. Shi. No, Mrs. Shi is really energetic. It's a pity that Nian Chen hasn't found a partner yet, otherwise he wouldn't come home to argue with his wife every day at this time. Hua felt very disgusted that her cousin was useless. Xiao did not say anything after hearing this, but smiled and teased his son. This kid was well taken care of by his grandma when he was in his mother's belly. Now he has much more energy than the average person. You little brat, just be obedient and tell your mother not to be so tired. Dad is busy recently. I'll take you and your mother out to play when he's done, okay? After saying that, he kissed his still unconscious son the face. One time. The little guy was very happy when he was kissed. He grinned. His father was playing with him, so he had to cooperate well. Watching the father and son playing around, Hua was a sensible person and asked, "Are you done today?" Knowing that her father-in-law would be very busy after leaving the company to him, she came here just to take a breather. She will go back in a while. It is still a bit difficult to raise a child by yourself. There are still some things to do, but it doesn't matter. I can still play with him for a while. Xiao knew what she was thinking, and he felt more and more sorry for her. Why don't you hire a nanny for your family? My wife is old and she can't always do the work at home alone. After my mother left, I originally wanted to hire one, but my wife didn't let her. She said she could still move, but as juniors, they felt distressed. I think it's okay. Just hire someone to do housework. My wife and I can take care of the children together. I'm afraid my wife will think too much. Hua thought deeply about things. She not only has to take care of herself, she also has to take care of her wife. Her wife is old and her energy is limited after all. It will definitely be too much for her to take care of the children every day. Even she herself can't bear it, let alone the elderly. I think so too. Thank you for your hard work. Xiao still feels very indebted to his wife. Xiaopeng and the others are old enough that we don't need to worry too much, but they are about to take the college entrance examination this year, and they are very tight on time. He was very confident in his younger brother, but he still couldn't get rid of the nervousness. I understand. Don't worry. I'll ask my mother to come over and help take care of the children when Xiaopeng and the others take the exam. Then I can concentrate on taking care of Xiaopeng and the others as the eldest sister-in-law. She is still very responsible. Okay, I'll call my mother-in-law then. I'm embarrassed to bother her all the time, Xiao said with a smile. Come on, you are much more important to my mother than me. She will fly over immediately as soon as you tell her. When talking about this, Hua became extremely jealous. There is no way. I am such a good son-in-law, and my mother-in-law must help me. Hua spent an hour or two playing with Xiao and then left. She didn't stay outside for long and went home directly. Fortunately, the two old people at home stopped arguing. My dear is back, let Mrs. hug her. The old lady ran out as soon as she heard the sound of the car. The one who screams is louder. Fortunately, the child took a nap while at the company, otherwise he would have been frightened and woke up. Sister, please keep your voice down, don't scare the children. The old man really wanted to feel present all the time. Humph, will my children and grandchildren be frightened by a small voice? I think it's you, and I don't even look at your little grandson. He doesn't dare to look at me if I make a loud voice. It's really useless. The old lady was talking about the son born between Shi Weikan and Hua Zitong. For some reason, he was very timid. She is a full dozen years younger than Hua Nian Chen. The two brothers get along very harmoniously. Huh, that's because you spoke too loudly. How can you say that Hua is timid? The old man quit. Our grandson is at a cute age. He is so fat and cute. If he hadn't been scared by her so many times, would he be afraid of her? Your tiger is so cute, why don't you come home to take care of the baby? The old lady wouldn't let him. I won't go. How can I get it? This is also my great-grandson, and I'm happy with it. The old man was so shameless that even the old lady was afraid. After Hua saw that the child was not making any noise and was listening with interest, she went to the kitchen. Time passes day by day. Xiao Lai has never been to work since taking sick leave, and the projects in his hands were slowly handed over to Xiao. Xiao is not stupid and quickly understood what Uncle Xiao meant. Having learned from the past, he became more wary of Uncle Xiang. Xiang Yang is so angry. Angry, he ran to Xiao Lai's house and got him drunk before he stopped. After Xiao learned about it the next day, he laughed for a long time in the office. Hang Yang had no choice but to commute to get off work every day. However, he also slowly pushed the affairs in hand to Xiao. So there were more and more secretaries around Xiao, from 1 to 3. That's not all, the secretary also has an assistant, and the top floor immediately became lively. Originally, Xiao thought that he would have free time after spending more than half a year figuring out the voyage affairs. But Grandpa Zhao from Fahrenheit Pharmaceuticals came over. Xiao, I don't care. Your mother is not at home now, and your family also has shares in Fahrenheit. You have to find a way to come up with some new products, otherwise we will fall behind. Uncle Zhao was not polite to Xiao at all. The first step is to develop new products. Xiao has a big head. Grandpa Zhao, didn't all the research at Fahrenheit be handed over to Uncle Hua? It's useless for you to ask me. I'm not very familiar with medicine, Xiao said with a bitter face. How could Uncle Zhao let him go like this? In the past, no matter how much he begged for Xiaoxiu, he could never get anything good. She would always reward him with 1 or 2 if she was in a good mood. Now that Xiaoxiu has given the important task to Xiao, of course he can't be polite to Xiao. He is very comfortable with selling old people and so on. I don't care, your family also has a share in the company. Anyway, I won't work unless new products are released next month. Of course, the Zhao family also has shares, but he only knows management, and he really doesn't know how to do this kind of research. Hua Tongfang was also stumbled by a study recently. The company's new products have not been updated for 2 years. It is not a good idea to rest on your laurels like this. Grandpa Zhao, aren't you making things difficult for me? His medical skills are true, but his skills are very superficial. It's okay for him to see, but for others, he really doesn't have this ability. If I embarrass you, the customer will embarrass me. I don't care. If you don't give me new products next month, I will go home and retire. By then, the company will be in your charge. After saying this, the old man, without giving Xiao a chance to refute, he left directly. Xiao pressed his temples with a big head. "Zhou Da," he shouted outside. Soon, a sunny and handsome man walked in. He is Xiao's classmate. Because he returned to China for development, when Xiao found out about it, he directly called him under his command. He An's secretary was Song Quan, who was retired from the army and had been with He An's for a long time. He was usually in charge of some company affairs. After Xiao took office, he directly made him the vice president. It's not that he can't get used to the people his father left him, but that he has the ability to do more work. So Zhou Da took over Song Quan's work. Mr. He in the company, only Zhou Da calls he she Mr. He. Those old people all call him Mr. Xiao He. Xiao has no objection to this, let them do as they like. Can you tell me what's going on in Fahrenheit recently? Grandpa Zhao would really give him a hard time. Since the newcomer came in, Zhou Da had already understood all the matters inside and outside his work. Of course you know what Fahrenheit is about. So he reported it to Xiao. After hearing this, Xiao was confused. So, they are still using hemostatic drugs from 10 years ago, and their new products are mainly cosmetics. Is this still a pharmaceutical company? Yes, but it seems that news has come out recently that Mr. Hua of Fahrenheit has done new research on a special drug for cancer, but no one has high hopes for him. Zhou Da told everyone about the news he had learned. Tell He Shiu. Xiao was silent now. No wonder Grandpa Zhao came to see him. A pharmaceutical company has started selling cosmetics, which is really a hardship for them. Okay, please remember this for me and see if you can send some new products next month. Xiao felt that he should go back and discuss this matter with Xiao Peng. He just happened to have finished the college entrance examination, and now he has returned to Miao village to find the village chief. He must ask him first. Okay. I have a lot of questions about Mr. He's Huda, but I also know that I can't ask more questions. Where is Uncle Xiang? Is he still in the company? He had to ask Xiang Yang about some things. Yes, Mr. Xiang, this point should be in the coffee shop. Yuan Hang Group's internal services are very good, including food and drinks, all free of charge. Xiao asked Zhou Da to go out first. He had to see the situation of Fahrenheit. Xiao Peng, who was far away in Miao village, didn't know that he was being remembered. He has been taken around the Worm Valley by the village chief's wife recently. It's really not worth talking about here, because few people from the village come here, and a lot of medicinal materials have been accumulated. Grandpa, village chief, can this poison also cure diseases? Xiao Peng has been exposed to poison recently. Because of her training, Xiao Yu was practicing under the tea tree, so she did not follow them. Of course, haven't you heard of fighting poison with poison? The village chief smiled and touched his beard. Not only can medicines be used to treat diseases, but poisons can also be used. Of course, these poisons are not used for ordinary diseases. The village chief patiently explained the differences to Xiao Peng bit by bit. Xiao Peng's current medical skills are no worse than those of the doctors in the hospital, maybe even a level higher than them. Now he has begun to learn to practice elixirs, but unfortunately he does not have a good alchemy furnace, and the elixirs produced with an iron pot always feel that something is missing. I have to say that Xiao Peng and Xiao Yu are really talented. Both of them have developed their own inner fire. This is very important for practicing alchemy. It is true that the different fires of heaven and earth are powerful, but only with internal fire can the different fires be fused. Like them, they can fuse them whenever they find the different fires. You can also take a big step forward in your cultivation. Because his mother is not at home and there is a lack of medicinal materials, Xiao Peng practices medicine with a lot of restraint. A few days ago, he thought there were medicinal materials in Worm Valley and wanted to come over and take a look. He happened to meet the village chief's wife and expressed his thoughts. The village chief began to explain the poison sutra to him. Yaojing and Dujing are the unique methods of practicing medicine of the Miao family. While listening and learning, Xiaopeng's understanding of poisons has taken a step closer. Even the village chief was surprised by Xiaopeng's talent. When Xiaopeng received a call from his elder brother, he was still practicing poison. The phone was brought over by the village chief. After the Long family settled here, a telephone line was also connected to the mountain. Mobile networks have also entered the mountains. Brother Xiaopeng called out as soon as he got the phone. Xiaopeng, you have to help me, your brother. I am suffering. So Xiao began to complain to his brother. Xiaopeng was speechless after hearing this. Brother just wants to give Fahrenheit a new product. Is this necessary? Last time he seemed to have developed something bad, which was just right for my elder brother. Those were not alchemy techniques, but ordinary medical prescriptions. His research focuses on traditional Chinese medicine. Brother, there is something you want in the second locked drawer in my study, but I think it's better not to take it all out at once. You can't give everything at once. Xiao was very happy after hearing this. You mean you have a lot of prescriptions in your drawer? Yes, I hope it will be useful to you, brother. Under the influence of his mother, he researched many recipes, but most of them were from Aunt Wang. Of course, there are people who treat illnesses and save people, but the few are the ones who do it. It's useful, it's very useful. Xiaopeng, you can help your brother research some medical prescriptions in the future. You don't know how shameless Grandpa Zhao is. My family also became more direct in their speech. Fortunately, Uncle Zhao didn't know what the two brothers thought of him. Otherwise he must have retired to old age. With Xiaopeng's help, Xiao entered Xiaopeng's study that night and said something to his wife when he entered. Grandma, he never paid much attention to the matters between their brothers. Just go if your brother asks you to go. What are you talking to an old woman like me? Besides, I don't understand what you said. The old woman rolled her eyes at him. Holding one's great-great-grandson is called affection. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 543. Chapter 543, Find Each Other. Xiao was so exhausted that he left the front hall and went to the Xiaopeng courtyard in the backyard. When he opened the drawer and saw the thick pile of white paper inside, he was shocked. Unexpectedly, my younger brother has researched so many methods. After reading one after another, Xiao's mouth twitched. So, it's all about beauty, Xiaopeng, you are really a good son of your mother. Xiao laughed angrily. How many medical prescriptions are there? There are dozens of them here, and there are only 1 or 2 medical prescriptions. Angry. But fortunately, I can still get rid of Uncle Zhao. After taking a look at the functions of the prescription, Xiao chose a prescription for skin diseases. At first glance, I knew that this prescription was related to medical beauty, and it was really hard work for him to research it. There is more behind it, but he doesn't plan to read it because he is afraid of making himself angry. After closing the door of Xiaopeng's room, Xiao looked at the paper in his hand and said, Mom and Dad, you didn't leave a way for me to escape. I have a headache. Xiao was not stupid and did not give the recipe to Uncle Zhao directly. He waited until Uncle Zhao came to the door again before he took it out. Uncle Zhao rolled his eyes angrily. This boy has the same virtues as his mother. If he doesn't come to the door, I'm afraid he won't even plan to send it to him. Xiao, Grandpa Zhao is old and his legs and feet are not good. Can you please remember to send it to Grandpa when you have a child? Uncle Zhao is convinced by this family. Grandpa Zhao, I'm sorry. I've been really busy lately. As you know, my parents didn't give me time to prepare when they left. I took over directly and I have a big head. Who wouldn't do it after a miserable sale? Ah. Zhao Xian couldn't say a word. Yes, it's all your parents' fault. After saying that, Uncle Zhao left. He was afraid that he would curse if we continued talking. After sending Grandpa Zhao away, Xiao finally had a quiet time. What he doesn't know is how much his Grandpa Zhao loves to show off. Now that everyone's head office has moved to Kyoto, as long as the word leaks out, the entire company where he and Mei Shui are involved will know about it. Next, Xiao was immediately surrounded by everyone. This almost frightened Hua, who came to him to death. Jodo was busy outside. When he saw the visitor, he immediately greeted him. "Why are you here? You have your child with you." Jodo and Hua met early because of He Shiu. There are not so many formulas between them, and their mode of getting along is still the same as before. "Why are you here? Why are there so many people here?" She knew many of them. Speaking of this, Jodo laughed. "I didn't expect that the He family held so many company shares. These people came to ask for things from Mr. He as He Shiu's secretary." He knew that it was true, but it was never as shocking as seeing it with my own eyes. "You want something?" Hua was a little confused. "What do you want?" Jodo really didn't know about this and shook his head. "I don't know about that, but they just arrived not long ago." After listening to Jodo's words, Hua learned some information, then directly held the child and knocked on the door. The door was open and she was just being polite by knocking. "Hey, look who's here." The first one to notice was Wang Jiajia. "Yes, she is here too, and she is the one who envies Uncle Zhao the most. Quick, give me a hug. It's been so long since I last saw this brat. Why has he changed his appearance?" Wang Jiajia has always been reluctant to become a grandmother, and she even complained about Mei Shui for this. Hua looked at the person walking in front of her and called out with a smile, "Aunt Wang." Then he handed the child to her. "He's very heavy, so be careful, Aunt Wang." After saying that, he let go of his hand. After Wang Jiajia received all the weight of the little guy, her hands felt heavy. "Haha, I'm right, this kid is very heavy." Suddenly there was laughter in the office. Because the arrival of flowers and children relieves Xiao from the pressure of these elders. He felt that he was going crazy. As soon as these elders came up, they asked him for prescriptions, this or that. But he doesn't have any. He has a very big head. Fortunately, his wife and children are here, giving him room to breathe a sigh of relief. Of course, he knew better that these elders could not leave so easily. After Hua handed the child to Aunt Wang, she walked to Xiao and looked at him. "Are you okay?" Xiao smiled bitterly and shook his head. As you can see, he usually didn't hide anything from her, and she would tell her anything about the company if she asked him. But Hua knows the importance and usually doesn't interfere with his business matters. Even if there is a child, the relief will be temporary. The brat in Wang Jiajia's hands was quickly taken away. Who among the people here doesn't like this youngest generation? When Aunt Wang was empty, she walked up to Xiao and Hua. "Xiao, you can't be partial, otherwise how will your family live after giving birth to a second son?" He, what he said was that he wanted prescriptions. Xiao was speechless after listening to Aunt Wang's words. "Aunt Wang, I have no favoritism. Besides, they are all my children, how could I not love them?" Xiao really felt that his father was a trap for his son. "Since you said that, what do you say to Zhao Shufang? Should we also make some compensation?" This was her main purpose of coming from Shenzhen City. Yujiao Medical Beauty Group has only been established for 3 years. It used to be just a beauty chain store, but now it is different and has become a company. Since the company has been established, the development is different from before. The most important step is research and development. In the past, when Mei Shui was here, she could come up with a formula in half a year, but now, as soon as Mei Shui left, Wang Jiajia began to feel a little unsure. You must know that the company's success in reaching this stage depends on Mei Shui's formulas. In this regard, she and Hu Lele knew each other very well. And their Yujiao R&D base is still in Shenzhen City, because it is more convenient. She is in charge of research and development, while Hu Lele is mainly in charge of the Yujiao group in Kyoto because of Wang Qinjai. The people gathered here today all know each other because of He-Ans and Mei Shui. Everyone gradually became familiar with it, so they established a group. A few days ago, Uncle Zhao said that there was a new product on the market, and he also at her and asked her to pay more attention to it. At first, she wasn't too reassured. If that idiot Hua Tongfang tried to come up with any special anti-cancer medicine, it would be impossible for him to be effective for a while. She just chuckled twice, not laughing at Uncle Zhao, but Uncle Zhao actually gave her such a big surprise, and it was still a mature recipe. When asked, Uncle Zhao said he got it from Xiao. How could she let it go? She happened to need a new product to be launched now, so of course she came here. Hu Lele alone is probably hard to get. Looking at the aggressive Wang's wife, Xiao felt cold all over. Unconsciously, he tightened his hands. Hua felt Xiao's nervousness and laughed silently. "Aunt Wang, don't be anxious about this matter. Mother-in-law will definitely make arrangements when she leaves. How about we wait until we get home to look for it? If there is one, we will definitely give it to you with both hands." People from big families are different and talk in different ways. But who was Wang Jiajia's background? How could she tell her this? "Come here, Uncle Zhao can have it, why can't we? She must get it today." Xiao shook his head and stopped what he continued to say. "How about we go to Aunt Wang's house for a meal later?" Xiao looked at Wang Jiajia and said. Of course Wang Jiajia understood what he meant, that would be best. "I haven't seen the old lady for a long time." Finally, Aunt Wang was sent away. Uncle An Wen and Xiao Yu were really helpless, and he couldn't get the wine recipe. An Wen and An Liang watched with smiles the whole time and did not rush him. They just drank tea and entertained the children. Wang Jiajia soon joined them. The rest of the people were the spokesmen introduced by each one, and they surrounded Xiao one by one. On this day, the office on the top floor of Yuan Hang Company was busy all day long. It wasn't until after get off work that Xiao took the people in charge home, and this finally made them shut up their quarreling mouths. He had to call Xiaopeng to ask Xiaopeng for the wine recipe, but he didn't have any. So Xiaopeng received another call from his elder brother not long after. After hearing what his elder brother said, Xiaopeng's head got bigger. "Brother, I haven't done much research on the wine recipe. I seem to remember that there are quite a few in my mother's study. Why don't you go look for them?" Xiaopeng suggested. Xiao sighed. "Xiaopeng, you see you are not young anymore. Shouldn't it be time to come back and help big brother?" It was really hard for him to be alone. Xiaopeng immediately became wary of his elder brother. "Hey, brother, did you hear that? Why is the signal here so bad?" "Forget it, brother, you are fine." "It's okay to think about it." After saying that, Xiaopeng said, "Hang up the phone. It seems like the signal is really not that good." But he understands the facts. Xiao looked confused when he heard the beeping sound on the phone. "None of you are too lazy to kill you," he said bitterly. "It's impossible to go home and help eldest brother. He still has to learn poisoning techniques from the village chief's wife, so he doesn't want to go back." How could Xiao not know what his brother was thinking? He wouldn't come back if he didn't want to come back, saying that the signal was not good. The Long family spent so much money on the signal tower, how could the signal be bad? Xiao hung up the phone and walked to his mother's study. Because he has no purpose, he can only look for the same things. Fortunately, her mother didn't like locks, which made him feel a lot more relaxed. "There are quite a lot of things in my mother's study, including many prescriptions, formulas, etc. He has always believed in his mother's medical skills, but she rarely used them." Looking at the manuscripts left by her mother, Xiao finally breathed a sigh of relief. At least he can handle a few companies for several years. It's just that Xiao doesn't understand. He's young and has nothing to do. After the first time, Can there be a second time? After everyone got what they wanted this time, will it still be far before they come to visit us for the second time? After the family finished eating, they sent everyone out of the He family compound. Watching them leave one by one, Xiao's face almost cramped with laughter. Hua looked at her husband's tired face, full of heartache. Xiao, are you okay? Listening to his wife's soft words, Xiao's fatigue dissipated. I'm fine, don't worry, let's go, it's cold outside, let's go back to the house. The two held hands tightly, and neither one let go of the other. Back in the front hall, Grandma He was coaxing his Hewa who was about to fall asleep. At this generation, the generation of the children is Chi. As the eldest great-great-grandson of the He family, he must be named according to his generation. In the end, the old lady gave it to his Hewa. Sent them all away. Grandma He didn't care if it was true, but she was not stupid. Well, madam, you are tired, please give me the child. He stepped forward and took the child into his arms. Xiao rubbed his brows and sat on the sofa nearby. Madam, it turns out that managing the company is so tiring. Xiao complained to the old lady at home for the first time. Grandma He saw Xiao's fatigue and felt heartbroken. Isn't it true that your parents are so busy every day because of these things that they don't even have time to meet each other? Fortunately, you three are good and follow me, otherwise they wouldn't know how busy they are. She not only felt sorry for her great-grandson, but also for her own grandson and grandson-in-law. Hearing this, Xiao's complaints were gone. Madam, don't worry, I will definitely live up to my parents' expectations. Grandma He shook her head, your parents don't have much expectations for you. They only hope that you will be safe and happy throughout your life. She was not comforting him, but this was what the family really thought. As long as you have enough money in life, it is good. It's good to be healthy, safe and happy. Yes, ma'am, I understand. Then don't be too tired. Your uncles are also lazy. I'll go find your Uncle Xiao tomorrow. How old is he? He doesn't care about things. Is he still a human being? The old lady said very bluntly. Xiao really hopes that Uncle Xiao will come back, but Uncle Xiao is still sick, so how can he scream? Thank you, madam. He would share the burden with as many people as possible, which of course he couldn't ask for. Okay, it's been a tiring day. Go back and wash up and go to bed. Zhiwa is going to bed too. The old lady was sitting in the living room, watching TV and missing Xiaoxiu and Ans. Xiao was also thinking whether it was time for him to talk to his uncles. He was still a child. It's really hard to bear such a heavy burden for a while. A dreamless night. The next day, Xiao had breakfast at home before going to the company. Recently the company has a big project, a resort that Uncle Wang and Uncle Wang are working on together. This matter was none of his business, but forget it, Uncle Wang and Uncle Wang also have good intentions. I want him to integrate into the company early. But Xiao was quite happy to see Wang Baobao. They haven't seen each other for a long time. Even if they are in Kyoto, they rarely have time to get together. They are both very busy. It would be nice to have a phone call every now and then. Time passes bit by bit. Mei Shui and Hians have not called home for 2 years. Xiaopeng and others have now graduated from college, and they all graduated early. Because they have more important things to do, studies are no longer important to them. Besides, with their grades, it's still easy to get a diploma. With Mei Shui's help, the third boss finally had his own offspring, 2 sons, which made him very happy. I took a day off yesterday and forgot to tell everyone. I'm sorry. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 544. Chapter 544, Return. He also took more and more care of the He family's business, but he may have felt it. He indulged himself like crazy the previous year, but when he heard that a woman was pregnant, he restrained himself a lot. Perhaps I have been in a high position for too long and am too cautious. He pays great attention to his body. As long as something is a little bit wrong, he will stop immediately. Mei Shui and Hians originally had a plan that he couldn't help but that he would lose half his life in at most 2 years, and then he would be unable to stay in jail. But no one should be too careful. These 2 years have allowed him to take good care of himself. But it was the fundamental medicine that had been damaged. Even if the doctor couldn't detect it, boss number 3 couldn't hold on for much longer. Being able to leave a descendant is considered a blessing in his previous life. The news on number 3 also made everyone realize that the superiors turned a blind eye to the fact that he gave birth to 2 sons. In any case, he has retired and no longer has any official position. What he does is considered as his personal behavior. The more the superiors ignored him, the more number 3 began to swell. No, 2 children slowly appeared in front of people's eyes. His adopted sons all have their own ideas about having 2 more brothers. Of course, they were all trained by boss number 3, and all of them are very scheming. So when he takes action, even boss number 3 cannot detect it. This caused him to lose one of the second sons he had finally obtained. After losing one, he became defensive and looked at his only son like a ball in his eye. Even if they wanted to do it, it would be extremely difficult. Another year passed like this, and boss no 3's health was completely broken. At this time, he wanted to find the He family, but unfortunately neither of them was in Kyoto. Even their families don't know where they are now. Lying in the hospital bed, boss no 3's mind seemed to suddenly become clear. But at this time, his helpers also had their own escape routes, and they were not so obedient to his words. Even if he wants to take action against the He family, he still has to see if his subordinates are willing. Xiao only knew that the atmosphere in Kyoto was a little different recently, but he didn't think much about it and continued to do whatever he had to do. It was only when the news about that person appeared on the news that he understood what had happened. But the He family was not qualified to mourn, so they didn't pay much attention. Mei Shui avoided her family when doing these things, and since the old man and the others were still there, she was not afraid of boss number 3 coming to cause trouble. As soon as number 3 died, his son disappeared from Kyoto. At this point, everyone agreed that the number 3 boss had left a way out for his children. 3 years have passed by in a flash. Mei Shui and Hians are also struggling to find their way home. Finally some success has been achieved. How are you doing over there? They have been trapped in the Dragon Vein land for who knows how long. Ever since being involved in the tornado in the water, they have been unable to find a way out. Here, there is enough aura for them to advance, but so what, they cannot live here forever. There are their families and friends outside, and they want to leave here. There is no daylight here, and there is only the light from the light stone that Mei Shui took from Jiaolong. The formation has fluctuated. Xiaoxiu, please be careful after being trapped for so long. It was fortunate that the space could be entered and exited, otherwise the 2 of them would not have known how they would survive. It's okay, I'm very safe here, Ans. After we go out this time, let's go find Xiaobai. There are humans in that world, so there is a place for them to live. Always wandering in this secular world is not a long-term solution. Unless they give up what they have gained. Let's talk about this after we get out. Everyone has greed, and so do they. They are greedy for the good things in the world and are reluctant to leave their relatives and friends. But relatives and friends always leave, and even if they want to find Xiaobai, they have to wait until they are gone. Mei Shui didn't know about this, but she didn't want them to fall into such danger because of her curiosity. If it weren't for her this time, how could they have come to this land of Qinbei Mountain? It is even more unimaginable that Tiandeo has actually set up a formation here. This is also the reason why the spiritual energy outside cannot be absorbed. The two men moved in unison. Hians moved Mei Shui, and it took the two of them who knew how long it took to find a hole in this unbreakable formation. They have spent so long using all their strength to make this hole. Zioxiu, as soon as you see the way out, jump out immediately. The strong wind in the formation started to make the two of them unstable. Meixiu is not being pretentious here, because she knows that as long as something happens to her, he will not survive, but if she is alive, he will definitely find a way to get out and meet her. Whether it's for herself or for him, she will definitely listen to him. Let's go. The crack became wider and wider, and Hian's strength was pushed to the limit. His veins are thick and thick, and if he is not careful, he is afraid that this power will destroy him first. Meixiu didn't waste any time and jumped directly into the crack. Seeing this, Hians breathed a sigh of relief. He followed immediately, and as soon as his power was withdrawn, the crack healed like water. Fortunately, he moved quickly enough. The two of them fell into a coma when they came out this time. Generally few people come to Tianke Mountain. They were lucky enough to meet a young man who came up to find some wild animals to beat his teeth with. Unexpectedly, he saw two people in the pool. People said there was a monster in Tianke, and he was also scared. It almost made him pee. Fortunately, he usually walked in the deep mountains and forests, and after relaxing for a while, he finally stabilized his mood. Step forward and fish them out. He was shocked when he saw the faces of the two of them, but he was an upright young man and didn't have any messy thoughts. You are lucky to have met me. Alas, I don't know if you will thank me with money. The young man is a villager in Chenbai Mountain. Although he is young, he is poor. The poor people's idea is very simple, they hope that their efforts will be rewarded. It was impossible to take them down the mountain, but he could still survive in the mountains and forests. Both of them were wet, and he now needed to help them light a fire to warm themselves up. Having been busy from noon to evening, we finally made arrangements for the two of them. The young people also contributed the wild animals they found and roasted them directly for eating. Perhaps it was too fragrant, which made the two people lying on the ground stir. The young man didn't pay much attention to them, but he prepared their portions while grilling the meat. Hian's current cultivation level is much higher than that of Mei Shui, and he was the first to wake up. As soon as he woke up, he looked for Mei Shui. But it didn't work. Zioxiu actually slept behind him, and one hand accidentally pressed on her. Hians immediately reacted. Zioxiu, he was very weak, but compared to his lover, this weakness was nothing. Hian's movements alarmed the young man. Wow, you finally woke up. Seeing him trying to get up, the young man put down the roast chicken in his hand and walked over, helping Hians up. Slow down, you just woke up. Looking at him with a worried look. Hians looked at Mei Shui and finally felt relieved. Did you save us? Hians asked, feeling completely weak and placing his weight directly on the young man. The young man smiled honestly. When I saw you in the water, I thought I had met a dead person, but I didn't expect you were both alive. Yes, he thought both of them were dead at first. I just didn't expect that they would be found alive after being fished out. This helped them light a fire. Thank you, little brother, Hian said sincerely. You're welcome, just give me some money when the time comes. Honest people speak honestly. Hian smiled after hearing what he said. No problem, then I'll trouble you more now. Hearing him say it was okay, the young man was a little embarrassed and said, well, it doesn't matter if you don't have money. I don't have to ask for money to save you. Possibly aware of what he said was inappropriate, he quickly changed the subject and said, are you hungry? I roasted some pheasants, do you want some? Hians was not hungry, but his lack of strength made him feel a little uncomfortable. He shook his head, no, just help me up, and said he wanted to regain his strength as soon as possible. Oh, It's easy. The young man didn't ask any questions and just helped the person up and sat down. Hians immediately started to sit down. Looking at him like this, the man was a little confused, but he had another idea in his mind. He felt that he must have met a god. How else could they survive in the water? Otherwise, why would they all be so good looking? After many questions, he walked aside quietly, and then looked at him without eating the chicken. Half an hour later, Mei Shui also woke up. When she woke up, she also found that her power had disappeared. She turned her head around. When she saw Hians, she breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he is here. After that, she turned her attention to the young man not far away, propped herself up, and then sat up. Did you save us? After hearing the question, the young man realized that the woman was also awake. He nodded, yes, but he thanked me. Why don't you take a rest? Do you want me to help you sit up too? Mei Shui smiled and shook her head. This child looked really simple. No, thank you. She still thanked her. The young man touched his head in embarrassment and handed over the pheasant at hand. Mei Shui shook her head. I'm not hungry. She refused his kindness. Of course, it was because she really couldn't eat. After a while, Hians opened his eyes. After seeing that Mei Shui woke up safely, he breathed a sigh of relief. Zioxiu, are you okay? Mei Shui had no strength at all and shook her head to show that she was fine. At this time, Hians regained some strength and directly hugged Mei Shui into his arms. We will never be so reckless again. This time it's fate, otherwise I'm afraid they'll never get out again. Well, I won't do it again. I won't be reckless anymore. After resting for a while, Mei Shui also regained some strength, and Hians also felt relieved. Started to inquire about the situation with the young man. After learning that they had been there for 3 years, he became a little anxious. Can we go down the mountain tomorrow? Hians asked. The young man's name is Shi Jieyi, a villager in the village at the foot of the mountain. He has not known who his parents have been since he was a child. People in the village say that he was abducted. When I was young, I grew up with 100 family meals, and I was almost 20 now. Regarding his life experience, Hians and Mei Shui also felt sorry for him, but looking at his temperament, they felt that he was well taken care of by the villagers. Okay, we will go back to the village early tomorrow morning. Then I will take you to the village chief's house to make a call and let him know that he is safe. The village only has a phone at the village chief's home, so they can only go to the village chief if they want to contact their families. Home. Okay, thank you, Gao Yi, Hian said very fondly to this child. No thanks, it's your own destiny. He didn't think he had done anything. Of course, even without him, he believed they would be fine. Because he saw him meditating and doing Qigong, he thought he was a capable person. At that time, Gao Yi's inner feelings about Xiaojiju could not be hidden from Mei Shui and Hians, and they looked at each other and became happy. It just so happened that he had no family. After all, he had saved the two of them, so he had to thank him properly. Hians waved to Shi Jieyi and asked him to come forward. Shi Jieyi was not the kind of person who was very thoughtful. After chatting for so long, they were already familiar with each other, so he walked over without asking. Hians suddenly moved his hands, and directly reached the top of Shi Jieyi's head. A suction force appeared between the two of them. After about a minute, Hians let him go. He laughed with great satisfaction and said, "Boy, do you want to be my teacher?" Unexpectedly, this child actually has an innate body. This is one of a kind. If you cultivate this from an early age, I'm afraid your achievements will be higher than those of Xiaopeng and others. His Gao Yi was confused, but he quickly realized, "Master, please accept my disciple's 3 bows." He knelt down directly on the ground and kowtowed 3 times respectfully. Hians waved his hand and directly helped the person up. "Okay, you will be my only disciple from now on." Master has nothing valuable to give you, so just think of this technique as a gift for me. As soon as the apprentice was accepted, the little golden man passed on a set of exercises to He-An's. Xiaojun also felt it during the investigation just now. Happy that his master could find such a qualified apprentice. This child's appearance is not ordinary, I'm afraid he is another famous figure of the generation. Shi Jie didn't expect that when he taught the method directly, his eyes glowed after he slowly digested it. Master, it turns out you are really an immortal. No words could express the excitement in his heart. Calm down, I am not an immortal, I am just a practitioner. You must remember what my teacher said in the future. He-An's had no disciples, but he had 3 sons, and they did not fall behind at all in education. So one by one set the rules for Shi Jie. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 545. Chapter 545, Going Home. Shi Jie was not that kind of vicious and evil person. After listening to the master's words, he remembered everything in his heart. I respect my master's orders. If I disobey it, I will be struck by thunder and die badly. The words of the master are the words of the parents, and the heirs must obey them. Mei Shui waved her hand, and a piece of spiritual crystal appeared in her hand. Here is this for you. Just hold it every time you practice. It will be very helpful for you now. There is so little spiritual energy in the world. If you want to practice it by yourself, during the Qi period, it is even more difficult. With the help of spiritual crystals, it would be different. Thank you, mistress. He also understood their relationship clearly during the chat. This was his mistress, but he really didn't realize that they were actually the parents of 3 children. No matter what Shi Jie thought, that night, he was taught by his master. The next day, Gao Yi took them back to the village at dawn. But this time they did not go into the village to make phone calls, but asked Shi Jie to say goodbye to the villagers. As for the kindness the villagers showed Shi Jie, He-An's had no intention of taking action. He had to repay it himself. However, He-An still left a phone number for the village chief when he left. What if Gao Yi's parents came to find him? So, just in case it's not. At that time, Gao Yi was also very popular in the village. After everyone learned that he had a master, they were all happy for him. He could learn skills and have someone who really cared about him. Xiaoi, from now on, you must be obedient and learn the skills from your master. When you learn the skills, remember to be filial to your master. We are poor in the village, but we can't be a blind wolf. The village chief pulled Shi Jie up. The thin black hand ordered. Today is the time for Shi Jie to leave the village. Many people in the village came to see him off. The village chief stood at the front. He was very worried about the child going out. Of course, if your master treats you badly, this will always be your home, and you can come back on your own. This sentence was said very lightly, as if it's like whispering. But of course He-An's and Mei Shui could hear their conversation, but they also knew that it was the village chief's kindness, so they didn't want to embarrass them. Grandpa, village chief, don't worry. I will definitely learn my skills from my master, and I will definitely be filial to him. The master is a good person, and he won't treat me badly. Grandpa, village chief, don't worry. When I get to Kyoto, I will just call you. Through these few days of understanding, Shi Jie knew what kind of existence his master was. He had no money and no power. What could he want from his master? So, the master is sincere about everything about him, let alone those things that he cannot express. That's good, that's good. You must pay more attention to your body when you are outside, the village chief said with red eyes. If he had been in the village, he would definitely not be so sentimental, but he felt a little disappointed when the children he watched grow up were about to leave. Grandpa, village chief, I know how to do it. You should also pay more attention to your health at home. After the village chief finished speaking, the villagers also gave Shijayi some instructions one by one. Let him take care of his health outside, learn skills well, etc. Shijayi felt very warm. He had no father or mother since he was a child, but he had relatives from a village. I'm leaving. Thank you all for your love over the years, Shijayi said with a 90-degree bend. After saying goodbye to the people in the village, the three of them walked on the road to Kyoto. Because of time constraints, He-Ans and Mei-Shui were a little anxious to go home. The apprentice is his own, and He-Ans did not intend to hide many things from him, so he also used some methods on the way. Shijayi looked at it with yearning in his eyes. He really wanted to have such a master. He-Ans and Mei-Shui were also observing him along the way. After finding that his eyes were clear, they were very satisfied with it. What do you think? Let Gao Yi go to the Long family. He-Ans felt that he had taught him what he needed to teach, but it was up to him whether he would learn it or not. There were suddenly many people at home, and he was worried that the children would be unhappy. Mei-Shui shook her head. Gao Yi is different from them, so let him follow us, or let him go to Yanshan to practice, where there is more spiritual energy. She thought more. Shijayi would definitely follow them for a long time in the future. If they encountered some innate bodies, they could not miss him. Go to Yanshan, He-Ans was a little unhappy. That might be the last paradise for practitioners, and they didn't plan to go there now. What if Shijayi had other ideas? He felt that he did not dare to gamble on this person's heart. You are overthinking. That kid is a real person. As long as we are good to him, he will not let us down. Mei-Shui's temperament has been tempered a lot in the past 3 years. She sees people and works slightly different from He-Ans. He-Ans still obeyed his wife's words. That's it. Let him live at home for a while first. He is not much different from a disciple to a son, but the future path will depend on how he walks. He is very confident that he has the ability to teach a capable apprentice, and he is even more confident that he can destroy him. The prerequisite is that he does not harm ordinary people. Shijayi didn't know that his master had already prepared for the worst. He is now focusing on practicing every day, and the stone his wife gave him feels a little too small. And his body knows more directly how much benefit it has received. How could he betray this master who was so good to him? It was late at night when we returned to Kyoto. He-Ans and Mei-Shui took Shijayi directly back to the He family yard in Haoerhei. After returning home, the two took a deep breath, and the familiar breath rushed through their noses. It made them feel very relaxed. Gao Yi, follow me as a teacher. Neither He-Ans nor Mei-Shui disturbed the family members, and walked quietly in the courtyard. He-Ans arranged Shijayi next door to Xiao Chang. He-Ans had already set up spirit gathering formations in the 4 courtyards where they lived, so practicing here would get twice the result with half the effort. Even in this period of lack of spiritual energy. As soon as he came in, Shijayi noticed the difference here. Master, the air here is so comfortable. After all, he had not yet entered the Qi training period and could not sense the spiritual energy. You will practice here from now on. My Xiao Cheng lives next door to you. In terms of age, you are the elder brother, but since you are a disciple, you must call him third senior brother from now on. Since you have accepted a disciple, some rules must be established. That's where your second senior brother and senior sister live. If you have time, you can go find them. But before you go, you have to call outside their door. They are studying medicine. He didn't need to say more. Shijayi is a smart man. Oh my God, is the whole family so dangerous? Shijayi really didn't expect it. No, it's just that they are used to it. For him, home is not dangerous, but the safest place. You'll know after you've lived here for a long time. It's getting late today. You should go back to the house and rest. When he first came in, he didn't feel the breath of the children, so he probably went out. Otherwise, the 3 of them would not have noticed him when he came in. Okay, master, go to bed early too. After being reassured, Hians returned directly to his small courtyard. Seeing him come back, Mei Shui had already taken a bath. Has everything been arranged? Well, he is a good boy. I think Xiaopeng and the others will like him very much. Counting age, Shi Jieyi is not much older than them, but compared with the conditions, their lives are much better than Jieyi's. I think Xiaopeng will be very happy. Mei Shui thought of the children and smiled. How could he not understand what she meant? I hope Xiaopeng can be gentler. If he scares people, he will have no company to play with in the future. After saying this, Hians laughed. After a good night's sleep, Mei Shui got up early the next morning. She met her grandma as soon as she came out of the house. Grandma he still didn't believe it when she saw Mei Shui, and rubbed her eyes hard. She closed it hard and opened it again. After finally seeing the person clearly, Grandma he shouted excitedly, "Zioxiu, Zioxiu, you girl finally remembered to come back." While scolding, she ran to Zioxiu and hugged the person. "You kid, why have you been gone for 3 years, don't you miss Grandma?" Grandma he was so excited that she cried. How could Mei Shui not miss her grandma? If not, how could she and Hians break free from it? "Grandma, I miss you so much," Mei Shui said coquettishly to her grandma as before. Even though she is a grandmother, her behavior is very natural. "I don't even know how to come back early." "I believe you." The old lady's mouth was full of disbelief. The two started chatting in the backyard. Their voices also alarmed He Xiu, who got up early. Xiao sat up from the bed in fright as soon as he heard his wife's voice. After hearing the word Xiao Shui, he ran out of the room without even having to put on his clothes. Xiao cried when he saw the person standing in front of him. "Mom," she cried pitifully. The moment he ran towards his mother, all Xiao's grievances burst out here. "Mom, why did you come back just now?" Looking at the pitiful appearance of the child, Mei Shui felt distressed and happy at the same time. "Isn't this back? You're so old and you're still crying, and you're not afraid of your son laughing at you. It's been 3 years, and she really misses her family." How dare that brat! Xiao was still very dignified in front of his son. "You are also a brat." Mei Shui was really dumbfounded. Back then, she called him a stinky boy, but now, he has become his father, a stinky boy. "How is the child? Are you pregnant with a second child?" Mei Shui kept her concern for her family hidden in her heart. Now when she meets someone, of course she has to ask. "Okay, that's all good. That boy is very similar to Xiao Cheng when he was a child. He was so noisy that my wife despised him." After saying this, Xiao looked at his wife and smiled. Grandma he also nodded. "No, that boy was too noisy. No, he even disturbed their uncle. He said that there is no quiet place in the house." Saying this, it can be seen that the atmosphere at home is still very tense. Harmonious. "Mom, don't worry, everything is fine at home, and I will take good care of the family." Knowing that his mother is worried about them, he is already so old and it's time to grow up. "Mom believes that my Xiao is the best." Xiao was more happy to receive praise from his mother than to receive praise from him in the whole world. "Right, what?" Mei Shui said a little worriedly after they had been talking here for so long without seeing anything coming out. Before Xiao could say anything, Grandma he became happy. The child is pregnant again, but the reaction was quite severe. She had to go to bed very late last night, so just let her sleep. When she heard that her daughter-in-law was pregnant again, Mei Swina was shocked. "Pregnant again? How old is she?" "Yes, I'm pregnant again. It's almost 3 months old. Otherwise, why wouldn't Xiaopeng and the others be at home? They were just afraid of disturbing their sister-in-law. Of course, the brat in the family was also taken away." Hians also walked out of the house at this time. Each small courtyard in their backyard is opposite to each other. As soon as he came out, he saw the 3 of them standing there talking. Especially because Xiao was still wearing pajamas, Hyans immediately dissatisfied and said, He Shiu, how old are you? How shameless are you? Go back and change clothes. To his daughter-in-law, Hyan's domineering attitude is unparalleled. Dad Xiao was still very excited when he saw his father. What do you mean, it's so early in the morning, why don't you go change your clothes? Well, in his eyes, his son was not as important as his clothes. Xiao knew what kind of person his father was, so he immediately agreed and hurried back to his small courtyard. The noise here had already alarmed Shi Jieyi. Now he attends morning classes on his own every day, and his master arranged for him to attend morning classes. Even if he knew there was someone outside, he had to finish his morning lessons before going out. Grandma Hyan said happily when he saw his grandma, who was in good spirits. It'll be good to come back, it'll be good to come back. Seeing her grandson returning safely, the old lady laughed again. Let's go to the front hall, we haven't had breakfast together for a long time. Mei Shui and Hyans each helped the old lady to the front hall. The nanny has already been up in the front room to make breakfast, so there is no need for them to do anything. The nanny saw the person coming and asked, Old lady, who is this? Grandma. He smiled and introduced Mei Shui and Ans to the nanny. After hearing this, the nanny was very surprised, but her professional ethics restrained her. Old lady, what should I call you? She felt embarrassed and smiled. She calls Xiao Mr. He and Mrs. in this family. She can't call others Mr. and Mrs., right? Besides, it doesn't even look like this. Haha, you can call it whatever you want. Grandma. His naughty temper has not changed yet. Hyans was speechless. Grandma. Having a naughty grandma at home is really a headache. Mei Shui also laughed. It's okay, let's do this. From now on, you can just call him Mr. He and Xiao the eldest young master. Originally, this was Xiao's arrangement, but the nanny thought that she should be more respectful to her husband. It's okay now, let's finally make things difficult for her. This nanny has been with the family for 3 years. She is liked by the family in everything she does. The old lady also likes to talk to her when there is nothing wrong. So she got along very casually with the He family. Now that the person in charge suddenly came, she was somewhat embarrassed and uncomfortable. Mixu and the others all saw the nanny's uneasiness, but said nothing. After all, we are outsiders, so we don't need to worry too much about outsiders. It's the end of the month, everyone's votes are moving, thank you all, and your subscriptions are moving. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 546. Chapter 546, Pregnancy with Twins. When Xiao finished packing and came out, he was followed by Hua, and he seemed to be in a bad mood. She was also very excited when she saw her parents-in-law. Because her mother-in-law treats her better than her son, she is excited and unhappy. Dad, Mom, you are finally back. Hua was well protected by Xiao, and his temper was almost the same as before. Besides, how much change can be made in 3 years? Seeing her daughter-in-law running towards her, Mei Shui stood up quickly. You girl, please slow down, Mom won't run. Knowing that she was pregnant, Mei Shui said very worriedly when seeing her move so much. Mei Shui checked her belly anxiously, and this time Mei Shui was shocked. This girl is actually pregnant with twins, this. Mei Shui used a strong hand to support the man who was rushing over. You kid, why are you still so impulsive even after you become a mother? Listening to her mother-in-law's nagging, Hua was not bored at all, but felt very warm in her heart. Mom, I miss you. It's been a long time since you came back. She is as happy as her mother-in-law's family, which is her blessing. Hyans saw what Mei Shui was looking at, and he also used his spiritual power to look at it. Unexpectedly, it gave him a surprise. He patted Xiao on the shoulder and said, you have to make a lot of money from now on, and you can't lose my grandchildren. It's really rare to have a pair of twins in your belly. Xiao was confused. Dad, did you say you have a daughter in your belly? Then he immediately shouted happily. Seeing that he was so careless, Hians almost slapped him away. Mei Shui also became happy when she saw Xiao's stupidity. No, you really have to work harder in the future, and you can't let my grandchildren suffer. Hua Buletin Si immediately thought of the recent growth of her belly. Mom, are you saying that I have two babies in my belly, or a boy and a girl? She had to be surprised, because whether it was her family or... Forget it, my mother-in-law just gave birth to a pair of twins. It is normal for her to be pregnant with twins. I just didn't expect it to be a twin of a dragon and a phoenix. Yes, he is still smart. Xiao is really stupid. Mei Shui looked at him lovingly. How could the He family not share such a big happy event with others? The first person to share was the old lady. She first called Mr. Shi to show off, and then called her two old sisters. Talk about all the recent activities in detail, and also add some things to pay attention to in the future. Anyway, the old lady is very happy. Hua and Xiao were startled for a while, then they finally came to their senses and immediately took him to the sofa and sat down. Oh my God, there are two babies here, but why didn't the doctor tell me? It's been almost 3 months, and it's not like they haven't had a checkup. Besides, he also has medical skills, but why didn't he check it out? At this time, Xiao felt very regretful. He really missed the growth of his children. Mei Shui and Hians couldn't comment on this matter because they didn't know what the hospital said. It's okay, the moon is still light now, maybe the doctor didn't notice it either, Mei Shui said with relief. The family became lively because of a happy event. At this time, Shi Jieyi, who was in the backyard, also completed the morning lessons assigned by his master. When he came to the front hall, he was still a little embarrassed. The people joking inside are all relatives of the master, and I am just a disciple. A feeling of inferiority that I had never felt before came to my mind. Of course Hians and Mei Shui noticed what he was doing here. Hians immediately called out, Gao Yi, come in. When Gao Yi heard the master's voice calling him, he didn't dare to delay and walked in immediately. When he came to the hall, he saw the whole family sitting there. He didn't know how to call people for a while. Master, I could only call out Master weakly. Everyone who heard his words was a little confused, especially Xiao. They didn't expect that his father would actually accept a disciple. Well, come here, Master, let me introduce you. Hians waved to Shi Jieyi and asked him to come to him. This is the Master's grandma, please call me Madam. Hians pointed to Grandma He, who was having a lively chat on the phone. Of course Grandma He paid attention to them. After hearing An's words, the old lady immediately hung up the phone. The old lady is a person who came out of that era, and she still has some antique ideas in her temperament. She knows that once a teacher, always a father. Since he has entered his own house, the child will belong to his own family from now on. Shi Jieyi was a little afraid of Grandma He because she looked a bit like those old ladies in the village who were difficult to get along with. But she is more energetic. When Grandma He heard him calling her, she immediately responded, Hey, good boy, come here quickly and let me take a good look at you. Grandma's behavior surprised everyone. She will be so calm and accepting of the situation. Mei Shui and Hians looked at each other and smiled. As long as Grandma is happy. Shi Jieyi was also very obedient and walked directly to the wife next to the master. Hello, madam, my name is Shi Jieyi, and I am the master's apprentice. This was a bit silly. But it's also very cute. After all, the child is still young. Good boy, why are you so thin and dark? Is your master mistreating you? Looking at them reminiscing about old times, Hians couldn't even get a word in. Grandma He treated Shi Jieyi like her great-grandchildren and took out a red envelope from the drawer beside him. She always keeps red envelopes here, just in case. Just used it again today. Here, here is the greeting gift from my wife. The red envelope given by the old lady was not big, it only contained about 10,000 yuan. It's just what she wants. But Shi Jie had never seen so much money. Of course he refused to accept it. Madam, this cannot be accepted. After he came out of the village, he used the master's money for food, clothing, and he himself had no money. Because of his background, he knows that money is rare, so he cherishes it more. Seeing his wife giving him so much money, how could he accept it? What are you talking about? Why can't you accept it? Hurry up and accept it. Xiao and the others have it. During the Chinese New Year, the old lady put the red envelope into Shi Jie's hand. Xiao also stood up at this time. Take it, it's rare for my wife to be generous, he said half-jokingly. Hians also nodded to Shi Jie, it's a gift from the elders, and you can't refuse it. Then he introduced Xiao and Hua to him. He could only call Hua sister-in-law, but Xiao here called him senior brother. For Xiao, the call of senior brother made him feel a little overwhelmed. Good junior brother, he was very happy. Shi Jie quickly became familiar with the He family under the leadership of Xiao. At lunch, he became the great-grandson of the He family. Gao Yi was very grateful at this time. He even swore in his heart that he would be filial to his master in the future, otherwise he would not die well. At that time, Gao Yi had settled down in the He family, because he was still laying the foundation. Mei Shui would provide him with a spiritual crystal in a few days. It took 3 months to finally enter the Qi training period. On the day of his breakthrough, Xiao was so jealous that he immediately pulled him and went out to drink. Shi Jie also knew that his senior brother could not practice, so he would usually let his senior brother do it. As for Hua, because her belly is getting bigger day by day and she gets tired easily, she stays at home every day and never goes out. Seeing her like this, Mei Shui immediately took her away from home and went to Bema village. The village should be more comfortable and you can still walk around on weekdays. Plus the people in the village are hospitable and kind to her body and mind. It just so happened that she came over to see her 2 useless sons. She really didn't take her as a mother seriously at all. At this time, Gao Yi also followed. The old lady wanted to come, but Grandma Lin took her away and told her to join some ballroom dance troupe and go dance. Because of Xiao's reasons, Hians also planned to help him here for 2 days, and then go to find Mei Shui. Life in Bema village is indeed better than in the city. There is no noise here, only the sounds of insects and birds in the mountains and forests. It is very comforting to hear. Have you called your mother? As the days passed and she hadn't seen her biological mother come over yet, Mei Shui was a little confused. When her mother mentioned this, Hua was confused. These days, she felt that her waking days were very rare. Her brain seemed to be insufficient, and she could only remember everything for a while. She couldn't remember whether she called her mother. I seem to have forgotten, Hua said in a daze. Meixiu was speechless. You are almost 5 months old, so you must tell your parents the good news. This child is really pregnant for 3 years. Yes, that's right, but Mom, if I call my mom now, will she scold me? 2 years ago, her eldest brother also married a wife, and last year she gave birth to a fat boy. Her mother is taking care of her grandson at home. Thinking about it, Lai Ying should probably not be angry with her. Can't we just make a phone call and find out? Mei Shui didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Hua followed Mei Shui to live in Bema village. You don't have to worry about your child's examination here, because Mei Shui can do it. Hua still believes in her mother-in-law's medical skills. Otherwise she wouldn't have developed so many prescriptions. But the most regrettable thing is that Xiaopeng and the others are not in the village. I heard from Sister Ji that the 3 of them went into the mountains together and it was unknown when they would come back. Mei Shui had no intention of looking for them after learning about it. She still had confidence in this point. After graduating from college, the 2 of them focused all their attention on training. Especially Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu, they are very interested in practicing alchemy and have learned poison medicine from the village chief in Miao village for a long time. Now is the time for them to test their results. It's right to go out for a walk. Xiao Cheng followed, of course, to train himself. Mei Shui feels that no matter how they train themselves, there are too few things that are beneficial to them in this world. It seems that she also has to prepare for these three children. Of course, there are also the children in Miao village. Those children who can practice are now with the Long family. Neither Mei Shui nor Hians accepted anyone as their apprentice, as they originally wanted to. But after they practiced qi into their bodies, they automatically inherited their own techniques in their minds. In this regard, Mei Shui and Hians did not force it any further. Those children are not as talented as Xiaoyu, but after all, they are only 1 in 10,000. In today's world, even if there are 10,000 people, there may not be one. Shi Jieyi was their first apprentice. Since Hians hadn't arrived yet, Mei Shui entered Yanqian without Shi Jieyi. But she was thinking, should she send Xiaopeng and the others into Yanqian? She couldn't make up her mind about this matter. Hians, as he said, only helped Xiao for 2 days, and 2 days later, he appeared in Bema village. When he came over, Mei Shui was walking with him in the field. Mei Shui sensed her man's aura and glanced in his direction. Give him a smile. As if to say that he is welcome to come. Let's go back, your dad is here, we are almost done, and we will get tired if we continue walking. Of course Hua has no objection. She really wants to sleep now. She wants to go home and take another nap. Slowly walked back home, called Dad, and Hua went back to the house. You're here, I thought it would take a few days for you to come back. Mei Shui looked at Hian standing in the courtyard and smiled. 2 days is enough, and 1 more day is not enough, he was so cold. You, be careful of Xiao scolding you behind your back. Mei Shui became amused. Those plots in the TV series have never happened in her family, such as brotherly discord, father and son fighting for property, etc. They are each lazier than the other, eager for the other to take over. Just give him money to spend. How many days has he scolded me, Hian said with disdain. The two of them sat down in the small courtyard. Mei Shui immediately told him about Xiaopeng and the others. Do you think Xiaobai is willing to let Xiaopeng and the others in? Mei Shui asked worriedly. That's okay. Xiao Jin said there are humans living inside. The worst thing is to tell Xiaopeng not to contact Xiaobai and the others. He had never seen what it was like inside, and he couldn't give Xiaopeng and the others much advice. How about we ask a novice? She didn't want to delay the children's growth. Although she has space, under the suppression of heaven in this world, it is extremely difficult for Xiaopeng and the others to grow. Well, tonight, I'll go with you tonight. Hians also felt that he should ask Xiaobai first. When Gao Yi learned that his master had arrived, he was very happy and immediately asked his master for advice on things he didn't understand. Hians was also very patient and answered him one by one. He did not ask why he did not ask his wife, because he knew that Gao Yi was a sensible child. Mei Shui made dinner and asked them to come out to eat. After the meal, she took them around the village. Everyone who saw the belly was smiling. The most happy ones are the parents of the Ji family, thinking how great it would be if their daughter also gave birth to twins in the future. Unfortunately, my daughter is not at home now. Otherwise, we must let her have a good time. That night, after everyone fell asleep, Hians took Mei Shui into the depths of Yanqian Mountain. I forgot again and want to cry. I'm sorry, the author is such a stupid person. I'm going to time it for 3 days in a row now and I'll never forget it again. It's the end of the month, please subscribe, thank you all. With the help of me, I would also recommend it. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 547. Chapter 547, Forced Separation. When they got there, they flew directly to the barrier. It became turbulent as soon as it touched the barrier. Not long after, Xiaobai appeared in front of them. Looking at Xiaobai, who was getting a little fatter, Mei Shui knelt down and hugged him. Xiaobai, you have grown up a lot. She missed them very much after not seeing them for 3 years. Master, I miss you so much. Where have you been in the past few years? Why don't you come to see me? Xiaobai said aggrievedly. Hearing Xiaobai's words, Mei Shui felt warm in her heart. And I went to Tianke Mountain. Something happened there, and we were locked up by the law of heaven. She told Xiaobai everything from beginning to end. Hearing this, Xiaobai still didn't understand. Master, don't go to those places anymore. Those places are starting to become your own secret realm. If you are not careful, you may not be able to come back. After all, Xiaobai knows more than Mei Shui. In addition, it has lived in this small world for these days and has a better understanding of the dissipation of spiritual energy. Don't worry, we don't plan to go in again. They still have their families and they want to spend time with them. After the three of them reminisced about old times, Mei Shui talked to Xiaobai about Xiaopeng and the others. Of course Xiaobai has no problem with them coming in, but there is one disadvantage, that is, it is easier to get in than to get out. Because it has a contract with the owner, it is easier to come in and out. You can't let the master make a contract with the little master. This will restrict the development of the little master. Master, you'd better ask the little master for his opinion. If he is willing to come, I'm afraid he won't be able to get out without some achievements. There are restrictions on entry and exit, otherwise what if the people inside come out to cause chaos? Well, I'll go back and ask. Mei Shui nodded in response, but thinking of Shi Jieyi, she quickly asked, Xiaobai, Ans has accepted a disciple. He has just entered the Qi training period. I want him to follow Xiaobai. Qinpeng and the others come in. There is really not much they can teach, and the innate body is really wasted outside. Mei Shui told Xiaobai about Shi Jieyi's situation again, and Xiaobai was very excited after hearing this. I didn't expect that there is still an innate body now, and I don't know why it was created, Xiaobai said with some envy. I don't know, but he has no father or mother. Now he lives with us and he is a good boy. We didn't get along for long, but we can still see the character of the person. Then master, please let him come in with the little master. The innate body can be practiced much faster than the little master. Maybe he can become the little master's helper by then, Xiaobai said wholeheartedly for Xiaopeng's sake. I don't want Xiaopeng to restrict him. If people go to higher places, if they have better opportunities, let them fly freely. Well, listen to the master. The answer is yes. Since there is a master-disciple relationship and the master is optimistic about it, it is also willing to believe in this Shi Jieyi for once. After talking to Xiaobai, the two of them looked at the sky and didn't stay any longer. Just wait until Xiaopeng and the others come back and then bring them over. Watching the master and the male master leave, the disappointment in Xiaobai's eyes was much less. It has a feeling that the master will definitely come. He and Mei Shui have been living together in Bema village since then. After that, the old lady felt bored at home, so she also brought her friends to live with her. The village suddenly became lively again without realizing it. Grandma if you want to play mahjong today, I will win money from you. The villagers in the village immediately started joking when they saw the old lady having dinner at home. Is the old lady the kind of person who is taken advantage of? He immediately replied, if you want to win my money, come back in your next life. Life in the village seems to have returned to Hejia village. Everyone gathered in groups of 3 or 5, talking, laughing and making trouble. Come on, I don't believe it anymore, I can't win against you yet. A group of old men and women suddenly became energetic and walked towards the village activity center one by one. Grandma he went home and put down the bowl, went to the next door to call her good sisters, and went directly to the activity center. Mei Shui overheard her grandma's conversation with others outside. Without saying a word, Mei Shui gave the old lady 500 yuan. Grandma will win more and come back. If we win, we will buy meat to eat, Mei Shui said with a smile. Okay, let me lend you auspicious words, and I will definitely kill everyone today. The mahjong in the village is very small, only costing 2 yuan a handful, and all the players are old men and old ladies. It's not that everyone has no money, it's just entertainment. After watching her grandma leave, Mei Shui took out the soup and looked at the time. She was almost awake at this time. Ans, are you going to take Gao Yi to the back mountain later? You can get some wild vegetables to eat when you come back. It's good to eat them a few times. I used to eat it a lot when my family was poor, but now I eat less. But this season is also the time to eat wild vegetables. Hians put down the book in his hand and nodded. Well, I might have to come back later, so don't prepare lunch for me and Gao Yi. At that time, Gao Yi was having breakfast. Hearing the words of his master and his wife, he also nodded. Recently, his master slowly taught him some moves, but it was still a bit difficult for him to practice them. He spent the whole day doing it. He didn't know if it was his own illusion, but he always felt as if his master was deliberately giving him extra training. That's fine, I'll have to cook for 2 less people at noon. After Gao Yi finished eating, Hians took him to the back mountain. At first, when I met people on the road, everyone would ask a few questions. Now that I know what they are going for, I would just say goodbye when I meet them. She rested very well here, except that she had no one to accompany her at night. Everything was fine with her. Originally, her mother planned to come over, but unfortunately she couldn't get away from the Hua family's sister-in-law, and there was no one to take care of the baby. When Mei Shui learned about it, she told her not to run away, and it would be the same if she came over when she was about to give birth. As a daughter, you still want your mother to be by your side when giving birth. Mei Shui is still very considerate of this. After waking up and having breakfast, Mei Shui took her to walk around the village. Now my belly is growing up from the inside, and it looks different every day. Xiao was shocked when he saw it a few days ago. I never thought my belly would be so big. May is over and it's June. Xiao Peng, Xiao Yu, and Xiao Cheng finally come back. Looking at her son who was taller than herself, Mei Shui's face was full of love. What she didn't expect was that her son actually did something big. Xiao Peng, tell me, what are you doing? Why do you always imitate your elder brother's mistakes? The old lady took the hand of Xiao Yu sitting next to her and said, very dissatisfied with Xiao Peng. Counting the days, Xiao Peng has just turned 20, but now, Xiao Yu is actually pregnant. How do they deal with leaving home? That's right, Xiao Peng came back because Xiao Yu was pregnant. If Xiao Yu hadn't been pregnant, I'm afraid he wouldn't have planned to come back. Xiao Yu's pregnancy immediately disrupted Mei Shui's arrangements. It's nothing, just wait a few years. Girls have been ruined by their brats. As a mother, she must give them an explanation. Fortunately, we are still a few months away from death, otherwise there will be no vacuum in the house for a while. Mei Shui and Hians entered Jia's door with gifts. Ji's father and Ji's mother certainly knew about their daughter. Xiao Yu did not hide this matter from her parents. She told her mother the day she came back. Brother Ji, sister-in-law Ji, our family has really wronged Xiao Yu this time. As soon as she entered the door, Mei Shui immediately admitted her mistake. What are you talking about? As long as the two children get better in the future, it will happen sooner or later. This is a happy event. Ji's mother and Ji's father looked at it with openness. Before their village, everyone became a mother at the age of 18. Come on, brother He, let's have a good drink today. Our G family finally has a grandchild, and none of those brats are useful for his little boy. G's father wished he could give them a chance. He hugged his wife. But when they got there, none of them were happy, and they said they should work harder to give people a better life. These are all excuses. That's a good feeling. I haven't drank for a long time. Hans meant it sincerely. He was really greedy. The two families sat together for the wedding of Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu. Miaokun did not choose a date, but only had his own ideas. Li's mother was afraid that Xiaoyu's belly would be too big, so she said it would be easier to do it sooner rather than later. It was chosen on the 6th day of June. According to the Gregorian calendar, it happens to be the end of June and does not coincide with July. Time is tight, but we can still follow the rules. This is not a Miao village, so many etiquette can be dispensed with. Just follow the local customs in Kyoto. Since Grandma He was her own great-grandson, she could not act as a matchmaker, so she invited Grandma Lin and Grandma Xiu. Mr. Zhao is so envious. Maybe it's because people get skinnier as they get older. The old man said he wanted a male matchmaker, but because he was older, no one could win over him. In this way, he and Mr. Hua became the male matchmakers who opened up new fields. Grandma He was very unhappy because of this, but she just kept saying that she was unhappy. Xiaopeng's wedding was held in the village, and everyone's acquaintances were in the village. However, Mei Shui and Hans did not arrange invitations for those outside Kyoto. But those who had faith also came over. Brother Hua also came over from the Hua family. There was no other way, the family really couldn't leave. Long Er came here in person, but he came to attend the wedding and immediately returned to Siang Kingdom. Long Er's entertainment company is very famous in Hong Kong now. Coupled with his medicinal diet as the basis, it is truly unrivaled. It turns out that the head office abroad is a little worse. Compared to other start-up companies, they are much stronger. Anwen and others all came over with their wives and children. Looking at Xiaopeng wearing new clothes, they all felt very uncomfortable. Some of the sentimental ones even had red eyes. That little bun was actually old enough to get married. They are also old. No matter what they think, birth, old age, illness and death are normal in life, and no one can escape them. Xiaopeng's wedding was very simple, but it was no less lively than Xiao's. In September, Hua gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, in the hospital, which made everyone in the He family extremely happy. To this end, Grandma He bought 1,000 or 2,000 eggs, dyed them red one by one, and gave them away to everyone she saw. Fortunately, many people came to attend the full moon ceremony, so all the eggs were given away. After unloading the goods, Mei Shui focused all her attention on Xiaoyu. There is no way, because Xiaoyu and Xiaopeng's situation is special, and the children in their belly are much more difficult than ordinary people. She wouldn't be relieved if she didn't take care of her. Hua also understood what her mother-in-law meant, so she directly invited the confinement nanny without telling her, and also asked her mother-in-law to come over with her nephew. Because sister-in-law Hua has something in her belly again. The affairs of both families are concentrated together, and everyone can only help each other get through it. G's parents would come over to help on weekdays, and they would help wherever there was too much work to do. I won't say anything about my own family helping my own family. The matter between Xiao Cheng and Wang Furong gradually calmed down. In the past, Xiao Cheng might have thought about being with Xiao Fufu, but as time went by, and he always had to follow his second brother everywhere, the contact between the two gradually became less and less. It's not like Mei Shui has never asked Xiao Cheng about this. But Xiao Cheng didn't want to say anything, he just said wait. Later everyone realized that he was waiting for her to speak first, whether to be together or apart. About 2 years later, Hua's children were over 2 years old. Xiaopeng Ai gave birth to a son, and Xiaopeng was very unhappy about this. He abandoned his son to his parents as soon as he was born. He took Xiaoyu and entered Yinshan. Mei Shui had told him about this before. Xiaopeng originally planned to wait until Xiaoyu gave birth and wait until the child was older before going in. Perhaps there were too many sons in the family and they were worthless. The two of them abandoned their sons and ran away as soon as they were 1 month old. Mei Shui and Hians complained a lot about this. So the little guy grew up drinking Hua's breast milk. She is also a good mother-in-law. For the sake of Xiaopeng's son, she actually extended her breastfeeding period. Mei Shui and Hians were very grateful to her for this. Xiaopeng's son is now named Hizhishan, the second among his great-grandchildren. In the past 2 years, Xiao Cheng has become more and more mature, and his people have gradually become more and more cold-talking. Xiao Fufu also visited Xiao Cheng several times in the past 2 years. I don't know if it's because the two of them have taken different paths, or because they've both grown up. The fun between the two of them is no longer the same as it was when they were children. Until now, Wang Furong seriously told Xiao Cheng that they would be brother and sister in the future. Xiao Cheng laughed after hearing this. But while laughing, tears also flowed out of his eyes. He is waiting for her to make a decision. I don't know if Xiao Fufu knew anything, but she said goodbye to him with a smile. Xiao Cheng was also afraid to say that she made the decision for herself, so he stayed by her side for more than half a year. After that, Xiao Cheng saw that Xiao Fufu seemed to have found her own happiness, and then he left. But he didn't know that when he didn't appear in the corner where he usually appeared the next day, Wang Furong cried. But life goes on. She finally chose to be with a man who loved him. The Wang family felt that they owed Xiao Cheng something, and Wang Xiaoao planned to use some of the shares to compensate Xiao Cheng. It's a pity that Xiao Cheng is missing. Xiao Cheng also entered the secret realm where Xiao Bai was. The fate between the two is finally broken. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 548. Chapter 548, It's Time to Leave. Time passed so long without realizing it, Mr. Sun couldn't stand it any longer, and he finally died. Shortly after sending Mr. Sun away, Mr. Zhao could no longer hold on. In this year, Grandma He sent away many of her good friends, and suddenly most of Grandma He's energy also disappeared. Mixia was worried about her grandma. After checking, she learned that the old lady had reached a certain age. This result is difficult for Mei Shui to accept, but she can only accept it because she cannot change God's will. Uncle Shi and Grandma He are about the same age, and the two of them get together to talk from time to time. If she had let go of her age, Mei Shui might have wanted someone to be her companion, but now they are already companions. The world has changed, time has turned. Ever since the old lady lost her vitality, she no longer had the energy she used to have. In addition, her friends left one by one, which also made her feel sad. She, now over 100 years old, also fell on the bed. Looking at the people on the bed, Mei Shui's tears couldn't stop flowing down. Grandma, what do you want to eat today? I'll cook it for you. Grandma eats less and less now, even if it's the food in her space, she can only take 2 bites at most. Grandma He knows her physical condition. Now, Xiaopeng's child is almost 10 years old, and she is satisfied. The only thing that makes me a little disappointed is that Xiaopeng and Xiao Cheng are not at home. Xiaoxiu told her that they had a new life of their own and asked her to wait, maybe they would come back. Grandma is not stupid, she knows that she has married a great-granddaughter-in-law. Xiaoxiu has changed since she woke up that day. She hopes in her heart that she will change, so she always deliberately forgets the differences between the two. Now, she was going to die, she knew it. She wanted to have a good talk with Xiaoxiu. If this family had not had Xiaoxiu for so many years, she knew that this family would not be so promising. Looking at Xiaoxiu, who had not changed much over the years. "Grandma," he laughed and said, "Xiaoxiu, go and close the door. Grandma has something to tell you." After saying this, the old lady straightened herself up and stopped herself. "It's lying on the bed." Looking at her grandma like this, Mei Shui knew what she wanted to say to her. She shook her head. "It's okay, Grandma, I'll let Ans come in. Over the years, I've actually wanted to tell you for a long time, but there are some things I'm afraid I'll lose you if I tell you." Yes, what she fears most is losing her grandma. An's position in her heart at that time was 1/5 less than that of her grandmother, and she didn't care. As we spent more and more time together, she became less and less afraid to mention the matter, and she also deliberately avoided it. Grandma He's eyes lit up, knowing what she meant. The little worry in Xiaoxiu's heart also dissipated under Xiaoxiu's confident tone. "No, Xiaoxiu, let Grandma take a good look at you. What's the point of asking? She is who she is, and Xiaoxiu is still Xiaoxiu. Xiaoxiu, Grandma is no longer with you. Remember to take care of yourself. Don't give all your thoughts to others. Take care of yourself more." Hearing what the old lady said, Mei Shui could no longer hold back her tears. "Grandma," a choked voice came from Mei Shui's mouth. "It's okay, Grandma is over 100 years old. Think about it, how many people in Long Kingdom can live longer than me? Don't cry." Grandma lovingly wiped Mei Shui's tears with her skinny hands. "The children are now old, so you can help if you can. The most important thing is you. Grandma knows that you and Ans have your own opportunities. Don't delay them for others. Although Xiao is not our biological child, but over the years, we have long regarded him as our own, so you can rest assured that he is capable now." Grandma was afraid that Xiaoxiu would be trapped by the children, so she wanted to free her. Grandma has seen everything she has done over the years. She gave birth to 2 sons for Ans, which fulfilled her wish to continue the family line. Xiao was an accident, but this accident made you very happy and satisfied. The children are already over 30, and they are not young either. It is time for them to live a life for themselves. Grandma's words pierced Mei Shui's heart like a knife. She didn't know what Grandma was thinking. Grandma said so much because she felt the loss of life herself. Grandma is probably really going to leave her this time. Mei Shui could no longer bear it and threw herself into her grandma's arms and cried loudly. Mei Shui's cries frightened the people watching outside. Except for Xiao Peng, Xiao Cheng, and Xiao Yu, everyone in the family stayed at home. They were afraid that something might happen to the old lady, so they didn't get to see her for the last time. Xiao left all matters in the company to his friend and secretary Joda. Not to mention Anwen and the others, their own sons should also use them. There were not many people guarding the outside, but there were quite a few. There were still about 20 people. As soon as Mei Shui cried, all the people outside crowded in. Everyone started to cry. Seeing this scene, the old lady became angry and shouted, "Why are you crying? Old lady, I'm not dead yet." After saying that, she looked at the people who came and laughed. "You are already quite old, and you are not very stable either." Listening to the teachings of the third grandma, third aunt, third wife, everyone quickly wiped away tears. "It's not our fault, it's my sister-in-law's, Xiaoxiu, grandma's, fault." Well, this group of people are still so shameless. As expected of the He family. Ans walked to Mei Shui, gently helped her up, and nodded to her. He and Mei Shui are both cultivators, so how could they not see clearly the fate of the old lady? Today is the day for the old lady to leave, and they cannot fail. Everyone chatted with the old lady. Unknowingly, the old lady smiled and closed her eyes. Ans and Mei Shui were the first to notice, and they knelt down as soon as they found out. Seeing their appearance, everyone didn't understand what was going on. Xiao couldn't bear it at first and burst into tears. Mrs. And others are also very old, but they are all well maintained. They were brought back to their senses by Xiao's shout. Third grandma. The sound of crying in the He family compound spread throughout Haohe district. Except for those particularly lively places, everyone heard the cry. The old lady is gone. She failed to see Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng, and there was nothing she could do about it. Mei Shui and Hians have been prepared for this for a long time, and their endurance is much stronger than that of An Wen and others. The two began to slowly arrange the old lady's funeral affairs. The old lady said earlier that she wanted to return to her roots, she wanted to go back to Hejia village, and she wanted to accompany the heartless old man. Mei Shui and Hians don't plan to cremate their grandma. In the Dragon Kingdom, what everyone values more is to put her to rest. The death of the old lady of the He family was known to a large number of people. They all put down their work and rushed over to express their condolences. There were many respectable people, but Hians only let them burn incense and leave, because they had to prepare to take grandma back to the village. The He family's funeral took only 3 days. 3 days later, a long funeral motorcade was ready. Since they learned that Hians and the others wanted to bury the old lady back in the village, He Zhengting, He Zhenke, He Zhenxi and others prepared to follow the third aunt home. Meixiu did not stop them, and their descendants should also be sent away. Besides, without grandma's permission, she would not have been able to bring them together. The motorcade was very heavy, which certainly caused a stir among the local officials. After asking and finding out that the old lady of the He family passed away, everyone sent their heartfelt messages. Mei Shui and Hians did not care about these matters, and they and Xiao were there to receive them throughout the whole process. After a week, they finally arrived at Hejia village. The people of the old lady's generation have all left, and there is not a single one left. Now the old lady is gone too, and all the people of the same generation are gone. 3 generations in the village are one relative, and 5 generations are one ancestor. The whole Hejia village was shocked when the old lady was buried. One by one, they spontaneously came to see her off. Seeing how important the village was, Hians and Mei Shui thanked them one by one. The first handful of soil was thrown in by Hians. Since the death of the old lady, Mei Shui has never stopped reading the Purana Sutra. She watched Hians and Xiao bury the old lady's coffin with Lois, and she couldn't help but fainted on the ground. Hians picked him up, bowed to his grandma, and left. At the moment Mei Shui fainted, a figure floated out of the coffin. With a loving face and a smile. Every person has a destination, and death also has a destination. Hians glanced behind him with some feeling, then strode away. Grandma He's death was a big blow to Mei Shui. Even though she had been prepared, it was not reality, so she still couldn't accept it. Xiao had a lot to do, so he left Hejia village with his wife and children and went to Kyoto. But Hians and Mei Shui settled in their hometown. Taking Xiao Peng's son He's Heshan with him. He's Heshan is a sensible child, and he feels very guilty that his parents did not come to see his great-great-grandmother off. 3 pillars of fragrance are offered every morning. To express one's feelings. He's Heshan inherited the mantle of his parents, the mutated wood spirit root. Whether it's medicine or training, he is better than his parents. He will be 10 years old soon, and Mei Shui and Hians also intend to take him to find his parents. After all these years, I don't know if Xiao Peng and the others are doing well in another world. But once they leave, they don't know when they can come back. Xiao's place. After Mei Shui recovered, she asked Hians to clean up, and they left Hejia village late at night. Without the tie of grandma here, this place is no longer home. Grandma's departure made Mei Shui's temperament become much more talkative. But it's normal to think about it. It would be abnormal if she didn't change. Back in Kyoto, Mei Shui called Xiao to her study that night. Talked to him about leaving. Xiao cried. He cried like a child, he was reluctant to leave his parents. Mom, do you and Dad have to leave? Xiao asked crying. Mei Shui wiped the tears from his face with her hands. I don't want to experience separation again, Xiao, be good. It's not that mom doesn't want you. Mei Shui's temperament has become colder, but she is still very affectionate towards the child she has loved for so many years. Dad Xiao looked at his father helplessly. Xiao, be good, listen to your mother. Besides, your mother and I have prepared the foundation for you to survive in this world. Your bloodline has no spiritual roots. This cannot be changed, and you understand it. Don't give up on the martial arts I taught you since childhood. Let your children keep practicing. Once someone with spiritual roots appears, the skills will be practiced automatically. He ends, of course, also gave Xiao a backup plan. After all, he is his son and cannot be allowed to suffer a loss. Mei Shui turned her hand, and a bottle appeared in her palm. Hold this thing carefully. Don't take it unless absolutely necessary. Of course, this is only for the He family, Mei Shui said with serious eyes. Xiao took it and understood that no matter how hard he tried to persuade his parents to stay, he would never be able to stay. Of course, he would not refuse his mother's wishes. Mom, I will keep it well. After saying goodbye to Xiao, He Ans and Mei Shui faked their own deaths. He can't embarrass Xiao, he can't disappear forever. This is also the last thing they can do for Xiao. When Anwen and the others learned about it, none of them believed it. But Mei Shui and He Ans have a letter left for them, so you have to believe it if you don't believe it. They did not return to the village for burial, but asked Xiao Yula to be cremated the day after his death. Only in this way will others not be suspicious. Whether there is a chance to come back in the future depends on fate. With Zhishan, they stepped into the depths of Yanshan Mountain in the middle of the night. After a wave of ripples, the figures of the three people disappeared, and the ripples also quickly disappeared. Xiao sat in his mother's study for 3 days, holding the letter and some things left by his parents. This day, Hua was anxious, but no matter what she tried, she couldn't open the door to her mother-in-law's study, and there was nothing she could do. All we can do is wait for Xiao to think of it himself. When Xiao came out, he saw his wife lying on a stone chair in the courtyard and falling asleep. He walked over with a smile and picked the person up. You idiot, why did you fall asleep here? You are not afraid of getting sick. He was relieved that his parents had left. From now on, he will follow the example of his father and have his own family with a wife and children. Also train your offspring well, let them go to their parents and bring their own greetings. Hua had been anxious for 3 days, and she didn't wake up even when Xiao hugged her. You can imagine how tired she was. The He family has also begun to transform from the bright side, and many people can't understand it. But Xiao didn't need them to understand. Instead, he got closer and closer to the Long family. Sometimes I live there with my children. The house in Haoerhe, Xiao, is sealed. Because of my father's formation, it will not get dirty all year round, and the places that do get dirty are not important. The He family moved to the Yanshan Villa area developed together with the Wang family and the Wang family. The He family got the largest one, and it was also the most expensive private estate in the entire Dragon Kingdom. Of course, it is also with the permission of the state. The He family is slowly tightening their possessions, but that doesn't mean they are ruined. From the bright side to the back. Not to mention these monetary things, the antique calligraphy and paintings that Mei Shui left for Xiao are all priceless treasures. The He family will not be short of money. At the beginning, many people didn't understand what Xiao meant. Xiao, who was close to him, would give a few explanations, but he cut off contact with all those with whom he had a normal relationship. It took the He family another 10 years to become the rich man behind the Dragon Kingdom. The country is even more interested in the Long group founded by the He family and the Long family. It's a pity that no matter what methods they use, they can't shake the Dragon group, and the Dragon group also intends to be on good terms with the country, and they are willing to do some things behind the scenes for the country. The two parties get along very harmoniously. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 549. Chapter 549, New World 01. This time they came in without notifying Xiao Bai. Because of their cultivation, He-Ans and Mei Shui entered the formation directly. What I didn't expect was that this was such a big world with an independent way of heaven. Their arrival was immediately noticed by Tiandao, but as if he sensed something, Tiandao immediately withdrew his gaze. However, the two of them accepted it quickly, and within a short while they took a deep breath of the air here. Don't say it, it's indeed better than the ones outside. Heshan was a little confused. He found that after entering this place with his grandparents, their appearance had changed a lot. He-Ans and Mei Shui's cultivation levels are both at the third level of foundation building. Once they arrived here, their realms immediately stabilized, which was a surprise. Zioxiu, it seems that this place is a bit far away from the town. I don't know where we are now, otherwise, let's take a rest here tonight. After coming in, He-Ans discovered that the formation here was rotating at any time, which meant that they would not necessarily be in the same place when they left now. After making this discovery, He-Ans did not dare to move around. He at least wanted to understand the situation around him. Xiao Jin in his mind was also very sure of what He-Ans said. Master, I find that I can't feel my own body for some reason. After it came in, it lost control of its body. Hearing Xiao Jin's words, He-Ans fell silent. He did not want to tell Xiao Shui about it. With her cautious nature, Mei Shui naturally followed He-Ans's advice. Okay, then let's rest here for the night. Fortunately, there are no dangerous animals or humans around here. After making the decision, the two began to take action. First we found a water source, and then we found a flat piece of land to settle down. Zhishan, you practice here obediently, while your grandparents go over there to cook. After the tent was ready, Mei Shui pulled Zhishan to the edge of the tent and said. Zhishan is a sensible and well-behaved child. He nodded. I understand, Grandma. He-Ans's talent is very good. In 10 years, with the help of Mei Shui, he has reached the 7th level of practicing Qi. I think I will be able to build a foundation in the near future. This is also a blessing for being born as a junior. Those who go before us pave the way, and those who come after us will enjoy the blessings. Mei Shui and He-Ans discovered that the world here is full of spiritual energy. The most basic thing is that they can absorb the spiritual energy here. Unlike the outside world, except for some spiritual creatures, they cannot absorb aura. Even the meager spiritual energy in the space has to be absorbed by the spirit gathering array. It was still early, so the two of them did not dare to stray too far away from Zhishan, so they walked around. The ingredients in the space are used for lunch and dinner. This day and night, the three of them spent their time practicing. At dawn the next day, they woke up, immediately packed their things and started walking out of the mountain. No matter what is outside the mountains, it is at least better than staying in the mountains every day. This place seems to be a new world, isolated from the outside and entrances and exits. No wonder Ziobai said that it is easy to get in but difficult to get out. Now even He-Ans, who is proficient in formations, cannot detect the fluctuations in the formations. It is as if after they were accepted by this world, they merged with this world. No longer a foreign population. They stopped along the way. Because they didn't understand the world here, the two of them didn't dare to fly at high altitude for a long time. However, Mei Shui taught Zhishan a lot of things along the way, such as recognizing some elixirs. Yes, here are all miraculous medicines, but they are also ordinary medicines, but these are not too precious in Mei Shui's eyes, and Zhishan has also grown up reading medical books, and he himself has a good foundation. There is no need to teach him much, but it can be said that this is the first time he has seen a spiritual creature, so he needs to learn more. Zhishan learns quickly and has better understanding than Xiaoyu and others. Mei Shui was very happy about this. Zhishan, look, this is called rotten root. If this herb is eaten by mistake, it will damage the spiritual roots. Remember, the pulse condition of eating it by mistake is. Mei Shui taught Zhishan bit by bit. Zhishan also studied hard, and Hians protected them so that they could teach and learn with peace of mind. I don't know how long it took, but they finally saw humans. However, these humans made Mei Shui and Hian somewhat comfortable, because there were also ordinary people among them, which made them a little confused. As Xiaobai said, ordinary people should not exist in this world. But they saw it with their own eyes. Fellow, please ask, what is the boundary here? As the only adult man among the three, Hians must be left to him to deal with people. The people passing by looked like villagers at first glance, but there were also a few practitioners among them. Those people were resting here when they suddenly saw someone coming out of the forest and immediately went into restraint. Who are you? One of the leaders stood up and asked. We passed by here, but we seem to have lost our way. I don't know where this place is. Hians is not stupid. Their clothes are different from these people. It would be inappropriate to say that they are locals. Those people did see that they were dressed differently and became suspicious. Fortunately, Hian said that he was passing by here, otherwise he might not be able to trick them. You should know that the court recently issued a document stating that there are many enemy countries entering from various places, so be careful and guard against them. That's right, this area is controlled by the imperial court. Not only that, it is divided into 3 kingdoms, one is the Tang kingdom, the other is the Ning kingdom, and the other is the most powerful existence among the 3 kingdoms, the Qin kingdom. The land where Hians and the others are located is under the jurisdiction of the Tang state, and recently the Tang state and the Ning state are competing for resources. This competition for resources occurs once every 30 years. This year happens to be the 30th year. Everyone is fighting fiercely to compete for surrounding resources, and they don't know when a decision will be made. It is these ordinary people who are suffering. It would be fine if Tang won, but if it lost, people living around these 2 countries would suffer even more. This is where the 2 countries fought at the end of the year, and both countries are now conducting strict investigations. This is the realm of the Tang kingdom, and the opposite side of the forest is the Ning kingdom. Where are you coming from? The leader did not dare to hide anything when he saw that others were better than him in cultivation. Hians had a clear look on his face after hearing what he said. It turns out it's good that you're still in our country, he said with a look of surprise. One intends to please, the other intends to curry favor. Hians learned a lot of news about the Tang dynasty from them, but he was a little confused. This place actually belongs to the Li family, and the people who are in charge are the descendants of the Tang zone lineage. Hians has a bold guess, but he still needs to confirm it. Following them all the way, they finally arrived at a town. Thank you so much, brother Sun, along the way. Let's not cross here. When they arrived at the city gate, Hians took the initiative to draw a clear line with them. Because he knew that following them might bring trouble to others. Of course, they thought so too. They just wanted to go home safely and did not want to get into trouble. The explanations along the way are a welcome gift to the strong. Mei Shui is also a good person, so she took out some qi nourishing pills she had practiced and asked Hians to use them to thank them. The moment they saw the pills, these people were excited. You must know that elixirs are hard to find here, and even if they are available, only powerful families are qualified to possess them. This is too precious, brother Sun, the leader, shook his head quickly. Doesn't he want it in his heart? No, he wanted it, but he knew how precious it was, so he didn't dare to accept it. Yes, sir, we don't want it, you can take it back. Most of them are civilians, and they are afraid of losing their lives to enjoy such things. Hians did not make things difficult for them. When he saw that they really refused to accept it, he took out some gold. Mei Shui exchanged a lot of gold for the space when she came in. It's just right to use it now. But they are all divided into small pieces using spiritual power. One person was given a small piece, about a few grams, and they didn't refuse. Collected them one by one. Then thank you two adults. After saying that, he gave up his position and let them go first. Hians and Mei Shui were not polite to them and took the lead. After knowing the privileges of Wan practitioners, Hians flew directly to the city gate with Mei Shui and Zhishan. Then he paid the necessary fees to enter the city at the city gate and entered the city. After they left, the civilians all held the gold and laughed excitedly. I can finally live a good life for a few months. They are the residents of this town, and they come out to make a living. It's okay now. With this gold, they may be able to survive this period of war. The war here was very short, only 1 year. Everyone, please remember, you are not allowed to mention anything you encounter with an adult, just treat it as a dream. The leader named Sun is very knowledgeable, and this person is not something they can offend. If you are not careful, you may lose your life in vain. Yes. After entering the town, Hians and Mei Shui first found a place to buy some clothes, and then took Zhishan to a relatively high-end inn. Of course, the fees are not low, but they are still short of money. 1,000 copper coins equals 1 silver, 1,000 silver equals 1 tael of gold, 100 gold equals 1 low-grade spiritual stone. 100 pieces of low-grade spiritual stone equals 1 piece of medium-grade spiritual energy. After the middle-grade spiritual stone, people rarely trade it. Of course, medium-grade spiritual stone is also very rare here. After understanding the prices, Mei Shui and Hians both used gold. These things are the least valuable in this world of cultivation. Zhishan, please don't practice these days. We have to get familiar with this world, otherwise we will be in trouble. After renting a yard in the inn, Mei Shui said to Zhishan. Hians went to reinforce the surrounding formations just in case. Grandma, I took note of it. This place was unfamiliar to him, but it also made him curious. Grandma, when can we find our parents? Zhishan has missed his parents for so many years. No matter how kind his grandparents were to him, he still misses them. Mei Shui doesn't know when she will find Xiaopeng and the others, but with their ability, they cannot use Wuoming, so it is only a matter of time. Don't worry, we will definitely find your parents. Mei Shui also missed her sons, and she didn't know how they were doing. When Hians came in, both his grandfather and grandson looked lonely. What's wrong? He asked unclearly. Zhishan misses Xiaopeng and the others. Mei Shui curled her lips and said to Hians. It is more important than Zhiwa in his heart. In any case, this is his first grandson. Grandpa, can you please stop beating me? He just missed his parents, but he didn't want his grandfather to beat them. Okay, I won't fight, I'll listen to you, Hian said lovingly. After coaxing Zhishan, she took a look at the sky and found that it was still early. Mei Shui became interested and planned to take him out for a walk. The world here is the same as the ancient world outside, but what is better than the ancient world is that there are practitioners here. Fortunately, Mei Shui and Hian's cultivation levels are not low, and there are no unsighted people coming forward to cause trouble. Ping Jing calmly learned about the layout of this world. It is normal to kill people and seize treasures, but if the family behind you is stronger, they may be able to avenge you, but the normal situation is that you die immediately and no one knows. It is somewhat similar to the end of the world, relying on strength to speak. After understanding clearly, Hians and Mei Shui planned to consolidate their cultivation level, and then take Zhishan to practice hard. After Zhishan's cultivation level improved, they would leave here. Of course, the main problem is the war, and it will be better to wait until the war is over. To save trouble, they rented in the small courtyard of the inn for a long time. Qian Mixu and Hian still didn't notice that. A month passed in the blink of an eye, and Zhishan slowly accepted the life here. Because of his cultivation, he dared to go out alone instead of walking behind his grandparents. "Grandma, I went to the pharmacy to have a look, but I don't know what good medicinal materials are available today." After Zhishan arrived here, Mei Shui started to let him practice medicine. It did alarm some people at the beginning, but Zhishan was so useless that he never succeeded even once. It also made those who were watching the excitement slowly retreat. "Okay, let's go. Do you have enough money?" Mei Shui was worried that he often didn't have enough money to spend when he went shopping. "Grandma, I still have money, so I should have enough. The medicinal materials here are not expensive unless they are particularly precious. And there are so many medicinal materials in my grandma's home, so he doesn't have to buy them outside. If it's not enough, come back and ask me for it." Mei Shui and Hians have been studying the space bag recently. There is no way. If they don't develop it, their space will be exposed one day. The people here are no different than those in the outside world. "Okay, I made a note of Grandma. There are many practitioners in this town, most of them are hunters, but their cultivation level is not very high. The city lord is the only monk in the foundation building stage. Of course, his cultivation level is several levels higher than that of Hians and others. But they can't get along with each other, and they don't need to be wary of the city lord. Under normal circumstances, the city lord will not appear in front of the people." End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 550. Chapter 550, New World 02. After watching Zhishan leave, Mei Shui and Hians began to study again. I don't know if Hians is talented in this area, and he is already halfway through the research. After finding some more materials, I think he will be able to make a storage bag. "Ans, does the book Xiaojin gave you include any materials needed?" Mei Shui looked at these semi-finished products and said with a pity on her face. "Yes, the most important thing is the Kongming stone, but I don't know what this thing looks like." Hians also had a headache about this. At this time, Xiaojin emerged from Hian's mind. "Master, the Kongming stone is a stone from the sky. You can ask the people here to see if anyone knows. Xiaojin is a spirit body, and it can come out whenever it wants. If he doesn't want to see anyone, he hides in Hian's divine sea." "How should I ask?" Hian's head was very big. "Ask if they have the materials to refine the storage bag. He is a man with a wife and grandson. What if someone misses him?" Mei Shui looked at Xiaojin. "Can you show us what it looks like? There are many mountains and forests in her space, so maybe she can find one or two pieces." Xiaojin really wanted to say that the Kongming stones were all different, and even if he tried everything, he might not be able to find another one that was the same. It was a little afraid of its mistress, so it obediently transformed into a Kongming stone. After seeing the appearance of the stone, Mei Shui twitched. "I've been working on it for more than half a month, but it turns out this is the only thing I need." After saying that, Mei Shui turned over her hand and took out a stone from the space. "Xiaojin, look at it, is this the Kongming stone?" Mei Shui handed the stone to Xiaojin and asked. After Xiaojin saw the stone, he could no longer close his mouth. "Master, Lord, Master, this is the Kongming stone!" Xiaojin shouted excitedly. "Fortunately, there are formations here, otherwise the people around would definitely be alarmed." "Xiaojin, shut up!" Hians felt a headache from being called by Xiaojin. "Xiaoxiu, where did you get this?" Hians asked after taking the stone. "You don't remember, this is a rocky mountain in the deep mountains where Jiaolong lives? These are the stones on it," Mei Shui said, looking into the space. "She has a whole mountain of this stone. It's just that she didn't know that these were the Kongming stones that Xiaojin was talking about." Xiaojin was also dumbfounded. When he heard the hostess's words, he was frightened. "A whole mountain, my God, Master, we have sent it. Space storage devices are very rare in any era. Let alone this era, even in ancient times, it was a hot commodity. What do you mean we sent it? I sent it after Hians had the raw materials. He also joked with Xiao Jin. Mei Shui rarely saw Hians and Xiao Jin joking, so she smiled at them from the side. Master, do you and I still share the difference between you and me? What's yours is mine, Xiao Jin protested aggrievedly. Unexpectedly, Hians shook his head when he heard what he said. No, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is still mine, he said to Xiao Jin seriously. Mei Shui couldn't stand it anymore. Don't make trouble. Now that we have the raw materials, let's go practice the space bag. Hians listened to Mei Shui's words and immediately plunged into space to practice his space bag. Xiao Jin was left outside by Hians because he was afraid that Xiaoxiu would be bored. Xiao Jin, do you have any books for Zhishan to read? I don't have any books for him here, Mei Shui asked, sitting in the courtyard, watching Xiao Jin floating in the air. Xiao Jin has survived from ancient times, so I think he has a lot of inheritance. Of course, the old monster for so many years must have a lot of good things. Xiao Jin didn't hide it either. These days, he also saw that the mistress really had nothing to teach Zhishan except the medical book. He has also been thinking these days about whether to give some things to Zhishan. Just when the hostess spoke, he had nothing to hide. Yes, I have a lot of books on alchemy, but they are all left over from ancient times. It is good for Zhishan to learn this. Then you can pass it on to Zhishan when he comes back. Recently, I always feel like something will happen to him when he is running away. Mei Shui frowned and said. As for the Zhishan they call him, there is a reason why he runs away every day. Because his parents have not been around him since he was a child, his mind is more mature than that of ordinary children. He wanted to enhance his cultivation, and since he had a wood spirit root, he was stronger than others in the process of practicing alchemy, so he deliberately put more pressure on himself. I hope that after I practice the elixir, I can use it to find my parents. Children, how can they not miss their parents? Boss, why is there no flower of life? Zhishan came to the shopkeeper after wandering around the pharmacy for a long time and asked. There are no alchemists here in the Tang Kingdom. Even if there are, they are in the capital, at least there are none in their city now. Ordinary people go to pharmacies for medical treatment, but doctors are the ones who heal the sick and heal people. There is no alchemy master. Not even the first grade. The shopkeeper recognized this kid and often came to him to buy some medicinal materials for alchemists to get started. The spiritual root is quite good, it is the wood spiritual root. Why others can't see Zhishan's mutated spiritual roots? It's because Xiao Jin sealed Zhishan's spirit root. He can't see it unless his cultivation reaches the distraction stage. Normally, everyone regards Mu Lingan as a treasure, but Zhishan is also an elder in the family, and he, a veteran of a medicine shop, would not dare to have bad intentions. Everyone has bought out the Shengling flowers a few days ago. No one has delivered the goods in the past 2 days. How about you, fellow Taoist, take a look at the other ones, or wait until the goods arrive before notifying you, the shopkeeper said to the little Taoist. The friend said very friendly. Zhishan frowned. He didn't need it much, but he didn't have any medicinal materials that could be used to practice a first-grade elixir. If he didn't get ready, he wouldn't be able to retreat in a few days. How many days will we have to wait? Zhishan asked. It may take another 3 days. Ningguo has been restless recently, troubles have occurred in Loxia Forest, and medicinal materials are hard to find. Businessmen are most afraid of war. What can he do? Of course we knew that the two countries were going to fight over resources, but we didn't expect that it would become this chaotic situation. Then there is no movement in the city lord's mansion. Even though he has a small ambition, his IQ is not lower than his father's at all. It was rare for the shopkeeper to have someone to talk to, so he took Zhishan to his usual resting place. You don't know, the city lord's mansion was thinking about it, but a few days ago I heard that someone from above was coming who can be ordinary, who can do business in this messy place. Zhishan pretended to be big and talked to the shopkeeper seriously. Who? The shopkeeper shook his head and refused to say anything, but pointed to the sky and gestured with the word royal with his mouth. Zhishan is not stupid. He watched TV a lot when he was in the city. If he didn't know what the shopkeeper meant, does that person know what's going on outside now? Zhishan frowned. That's unknown, but the city lord's palace has been looking for medicine recently, and the city lord's palace has basically bought all the medicinal materials you want. He is not a doctor, so he really has no way of knowing what is going on inside. However, judging from the medicinal materials, it can be seen that there are capable people inside, at least a pharmacist. The training medicine and the alchemy master are not the same as each other, but the difference between the two is not a word. Anyone who studies medicine can become a pharmacist, and if a pharmacist wants to become an alchemist, it is only 1 in 10,000. I see. I wonder if the shopkeeper can tell the city lord to buy Ruyeo. A city is so big, and several medical clinics are ventilated. The shopkeeper told the little Taoist friend in front of him one by one about the medicinal materials sold in his shop. Of course, he would also be a good person. He also shared the news he learned with Zhishan. Zhishan is not an ignorant person. He immediately understood what the shopkeeper meant and thanked him. Analyzing the medicinal materials, Zhishan quickly thought of a medicine, but he was a little curious. This medicine was so simple, why did he need to buy so many medicinal materials? He knew how to practice that medicine when he was 5 years old, let alone now. Does the shopkeeper know what kind of medicine they want to practice? Zhishan is not stupid, of course he will not say it directly. What other kind of medicine could it be? From these medicinal materials, we can see that the pharmacist wants to make Shenki pills. Unfortunately, the prescription is incomplete. Even a second-grade alchemist cannot make it. The shopkeeper really regards Zhishan as his good friend. These days have been very depressing, and the shopkeeper finally found someone to listen to share his suffering. I don't know what crime that big shot committed, and he was sent to this war-torn place, the shopkeeper said with pity. What else can it be? What else does the royal family have to fight for besides that position? Zhishan rolled his eyes and said with disdain. If it were him, he would not look down on the throne. If he has that skill, he might as well practice more. The world is so prosperous, why should he live in peace? The shopkeeper saw Zhishan's reaction, and he looked at Zhishan even more. Fellow Taoist, I wonder if you are an alchemist. The shopkeeper fawned over him for so long, and finally asked him his main purpose. Zhishan smiled bitterly and shook his head. No, I haven't started yet. Who would tell the truth when away from home? At least he is better than the pharmacists who are worshipped by others. I think the shopkeeper has figured it out. I bought these medicinal materials just to practice the first-grade elixir. It's a pity that I failed most of the time, not even once, Zhishan said with a look of decadence. Fellow Taoist, don't lose your confidence. You are still young, and you have wood spirit roots, so you can't give up. In this way, I will prepare a copy of all the medicinal materials you need in the future, and you won't sell them to anyone, okay? After getting the affirmative answer, the shopkeeper also started to make up his mind. Of course Zhishan would not refuse his humor. Thank you very much, shopkeeper. As long as I can do it, I will definitely benefit from the shopkeeper in the future. An alchemist is very popular no matter where he is. Haha, okay, then I will first wish my fellow Taoist success and success. After the two of them exchanged compliments, Zhishan left the drugstore. Since there is nothing for sale, he can just shop around. Anyway, his grandparents don't have time to pay attention to him when he goes back at this time. Lately, he doesn't want to practice, he just wants to break through his alchemy level. Now he can only practice a few first-grade elixirs, mainly because the medicinal materials for Grandma's elixirs are too difficult to find. Even if he had it, he wouldn't be willing to use it to practice his skills. They are all Grandma's treasures. However, judging from the situation described by the shopkeeper, the man from the imperial city was probably seriously injured, maybe the kind of injury that hurt his soul. Of course, these have nothing to do with him. His grandma told him since he was a child that there are too many people and too many troubles. As long as it doesn't cause trouble for himself, it's best not to worry about those troublesome things, because the appearance of the Holy Mother will eventually kill him. He has always remembered his grandma's teachings. Even if the man's injury could be healed by himself, he would not go out into the troubled waters. But after all, he had been here for so many years and he had survived without him. After Zhishan calmed down, he smiled at the sky. But at this moment, Zhishan found that there was a little tail behind him, and he was happy after checking it. It turned out to be a little girl. Walking and stopping along the way, he bought some delicious food when he found something delicious. He also bought interesting things for his grandma to play with. Even though Grandma was usually so cold to him, he knew that Grandma cared about him the most. I remember one time, after he injured himself while practicing martial arts, his grandma didn't talk to him for 3 days, but she would go to heal him in the middle of the night every day. He knew all about this, but he was just afraid that Grandma would feel uncomfortable, so he just pretended not to know. Zhishan walked further and further, and soon he stopped in an open space. "Come out, you've been following him all the way, aren't you tired?" After saying that, Zhishan turned around and looked in the direction where the man was hiding. The little girl is very capable. She has reached the 4th level of training at such a young age. This shows that her family has trained her very carefully. Zhishan didn't even think about himself. In a few days, he would be a person who would build a foundation. How much older was he? It's really. The little girl is also bold. After hearing what Zhishan said, she immediately walked out. "How did you discover me?" the little girl asked curiously. Zhishan shook his head. He dared to let such a girl out without fear of dying. "Why are you following me?" Zhishan asked. Of course, he did not lose his guard, even if the other party was a little girl. "I saw you buying medicinal materials. Are you good at medicine?" On the first day she came, she found this little brother going in and out of the doctor's shop and buying a lot of medicinal materials. At first she didn't take it to heart, but later he discovered that the medicinal materials he bought were the same as those her 4th brother wanted to use, so he paid more attention. Unexpectedly, she met him several times while wandering around the city. This time, she followed directly. Looking at the innocence in her eyes, Zhishan felt a little relieved. Shaked his head, no, he would not admit it. "You said you were panicking. I've seen it. You always go to the drugstore to buy a lot of medicinal materials." The little girl was anxious. How could it not be the case? Zhishan was speechless. It turned out that he had been secretly observed for so long and he didn't know it yet. "Tell me, why are you following me? If you don't tell me, I will go home." He had no idea about this silly-looking little girl. The little girl is the sister of the person from the imperial city that the shopkeeper and Zhishan mentioned earlier. She came to the city with her 4th brother this time because the 4th brother was tricked by the 3rd brother. Not only that, the 4th brother was seriously injured trying to save her. If there is no more medicine to cure her, I'm afraid. No, the 4th brother is her last relative, and she cannot live without him. I'm sorry, I didn't wake up until now after a long sleep. I'm really embarrassed. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 551. Chapter 551, New World 03. Just when the little girl was struggling, Zhishan walked over to her. But when he ran past her, Zhishan didn't even look at her and left the place directly. The little girl was also very discerning, and immediately stepped forward to stop him. "You can't leave, I know you know how to heal. I beg you to save my brother, okay?" This girl. Zhishan was speechless. "How do you know that I know medical skills? How do you know that I will save your brother instead of harming him?" He really didn't want to get into this trouble. After the little girl struggled for a while, her eyes immediately became clear. "I believe you. The will is achieved. But he won't save people either. Even if he can save me. I'm sorry, I don't know how to save people or do medicine." After saying that, Zhishan broke away from the little girl's sleeve. "Also, don't trust strangers too much, I didn't forget to remind him when I left." The little girl watched the man go away, her eyes immediately turned red, and tears fell down soon after. "Woo woo, why is everyone unwilling to save my brother? Why is my fourth brother such a good person suffering so much harm? Hit the people in the small palace and bully them. When they grow up, the brothers and sisters will bully them." Finally, her fourth brother was able to protect her, but in order to save her, her fourth brother actually. The little girl sat down on the ground and burst into tears. Even if Zhishan is afraid of going too far, with his cultivation level, he will certainly know what is happening behind him. After sighing, he took out a jade bottle from his arms. With a hand, he threw it directly into the little girl's hand. "Leave without leaving a word. You really do good deeds without leaving a name." The little girl was frightened at first, but when she saw the jade bottle, she stood up excitedly. Looking around to no avail, she smiled. "Little brother, you are a good person, and I will definitely repay you well in the future." The little girl knew in her heart that it must have been given to her by the man just now. Don't ask her why she trusts a stranger, she just does. At first glance, she felt that this person would not harm her. After a while, the people who were following the little girl came over. I became nervous immediately after seeing the little girl crying. Even though the fourth prince is injured now, his lethality is not what ordinary people imagine. The fourth prince didn't show off when he was young, but when he grew up, no one dared to look down on him, otherwise he wouldn't have become the target of the third prince. I want to get rid of it quickly. Of course, the fourth prince is not a vegetarian, and his methods are not comparable to those of royal heirs like the third prince. I don't know what kind of opportunity he got, but after he turned 12, he would be able to protect the only sister left to him by his mother and concubine alone. Until now, the little girl is 9 years old. In the blink of an eye, the fourth prince is no longer the poor little prince in the harem. Even the great people in the court did not dare to take a short look at the fourth prince. Many people were actually the fourth prince's people in private. No one knows what happened to the fourth prince in those 3 years, but everyone knows that in the third year after concubine Chen died, the fourth prince took on the daily life of the little princess. Last year, the fight for the throne became more and more fierce, and those people put their hands on the little princess to threaten the fourth prince. The fourth prince is also a ruthless person. Even if he died, he would not let his sister suffer any harm. He had already prepared what he was holding in his hand and left it to his sister. No, the person arranged by the fourth prince immediately walked up to the little princess and said, "Princess, why are you crying?" They followed the princess all the way, but when the boy found them, he trapped them. They didn't come out until now. It seems that their daily training is not in place yet. Everyone felt very guilty, especially when they saw the princess crying. "I want to find the fourth brother, I want to find the fourth brother," the little princess shouted excitedly. When the group saw the princess in such a hurry, they immediately picked her up and ran straight to the city lord's mansion. Shortly after they left, Zhishan's figure emerged from the darkness. "It seems that the identity of the little girl is not simple." Zhishan smiled bitterly and shook his head. "It doesn't matter, just hang up. There is only so much he can do." Zhishan has been studying the chi gathering pill recently. It is not certain how effective this pill is, but its only advantage is that it has a spirit-gathering effect on practitioners after taking it. It is still the kind with no side effects. Of course, it is also a top-level elixir among the first-class elixirs. If he wants to master it, it is still a little behind his current level. He has no strange fire. He has seen the benefits of the wood spirit root, but he has also shown the shortcomings of the inner fire. If you want to go further, you can only conquer the alien fire. But there is not even a single alchemy master in Tang state, so how could such a strange fire exist? Zhishan, who found nothing, returned to his grandparents' residence. Seeing Grandma sitting alone in the courtyard, Zhishan suddenly asked, "Grandma, where is Grandpa?" Generally, Grandpa accompanies Grandma. Your grandpa went to study the storage bag. I think it won't be long before you have a space bag to use. Zhishan, are you happy? Mei Shui loved this grandson very much. Handed to him and asked him to come to him. But as soon as the person approached, Mei Shui frowned. Have you met a lot of people today? She usually knew her grandson's virtues better than anyone else. No one can come close to him unless he allows it. Even his eldest uncle. Grandma, you are so awesome, you can smell it as soon as you smell it. Zhiban had no intention of hiding his relatives. After telling his grandma about his encounter with the little princess in the medicine shop, Zhishan felt a little regretful. Seeing him like this, Mei Shui didn't understand anything. It doesn't matter, just do good deeds, Zhishan, you don't need to feel pressure. It was obvious that this child was afraid of causing trouble to them. She softly comforted Zhishan, and Mei Shui also told him about Xiaojin. Xiaojin was called into the space by Heans at this time, and he didn't know how busy the two of them were. Grandma, is Uncle Xiaojin willing to teach me? Zhishan was now stuck on the first grade elixir and was very anxious. Of course, if he doesn't teach you, just ask your grandpa. Your grandpa will definitely help you. Ask Uncle Xiaojin for it. Mei Shui smiled and touched Zhishan's head. After the grandfather and grandson chatted for a long time, it got late. On the other side, after getting the jade bottle given by Zhishan, the little princess went directly to her fourth brother and told him about today's events. The fourth prince is a scheming man, but he never puts his guard up against the sister. It can be said that even if she gave him poison, he would eat it without caring. Not to mention that this was something my sister asked for. Shishi, you don't have to beg others like this. Fourth brother will be fine. He felt sorry for the sister in every possible way. Fourth brother, I feel sorry for you. The little princess had tears in her eyes. She really felt sorry for her brother. A princess who was born into a royal family would not have any scheming, but she is just simpler. Of course, she didn't have any plans against Zhishan this time. After all, she wasn't completely sure that he would be willing to help her. It was just what happened next that made her unexpected. Fourth brother, do you believe me? The little princess's name is Li Shiliu, and she is the youngest daughter of Emperor Tang. Maybe Emperor Tang was a practitioner, and he had a limited number of children in his life. There are not as many heirs as those emperors in Longhua history. Including the princess, they only have 7 children. Including the children who died, of course. Looking at his sister's serious look, the fourth prince dismissed the spies in the room. He took the little princess's hand and walked to his bedside to sit down. The person that fourth brother can trust the most in this world is you. Even if you ask me to die, fourth brother will not say a word of unwillingness. This was his promise to his mother and concubine back then. In this life, he would protect her for the rest of his life, even if it cost him his life. Fourth brother, I don't want you to die, I don't want you to die. She remembered the kindness of the fourth emperor to her, and she would never hurt her fourth brother. Okay, fourth brother will stay with me as long as he is alive. Then fourth brother, eat this, Li Shiliu said, pointing to the jade bottle in fourth brother's hand. Without saying a word, the fourth prince opened it and took all the pills inside. But there are only 2 pills in it, and they are Tianling pills that Zhishan refined himself. This elixir is not comparable to that of the pharmacist. The Tianling pill specializes in treating injuries to the soul. The fourth prince had already injured his soul, but now with the added power of the medicine, the effect of the medicine is instantaneous. The fourth prince's face turned pale in pain. But for her safety, he did not alert those outside. Hold it alone. That night, the people in the city lord's mansion only knew that the fourth prince and the little princess were in the room and did not go out. No amount of information can be obtained by them. The next day, the fourth prince felt refreshed and had not felt so relaxed for a long time. Shishi, you are really my lucky star. His sister has brought him opportunities since he was born. Now it seems that his sister is the lucky star given to him by his mother-in-law, even if that person doesn't like it. But what's the use? As long as she is his biological sister, there is no need for others to like her. Fourth brother. The little princess woke up from the bed in a daze. She felt her fourth brother touch her face, and she immediately sat up from the bed. Fourth brother, are your injuries healed? That little brother's medicine is working, right? The little princess said excitedly. She didn't know whether she was happy for the fourth brother or because the little brother took pity on her. Looking at her happy look, the fourth prince rarely laughed. Yes, fourth brother is fine, but Shishi. The fourth prince finally concealed the fact that he recovered from his injury. Also asking people to buy medicinal materials. As for the little brother in his sister's mouth, he would have to thank him when he gets the chance. He is not an ordinary person. He knew exactly what he was taking. It was an elixir. You should know that even the entire Tang kingdom could not come up with a few elixirs. Otherwise, his injury would not be bad even now. The little princess obeyed her fourth brother's words. Since the fourth brother didn't let her say it, she definitely wouldn't say it. Even if it's that little brother. Zhishan didn't know that he was being remembered. Now he is happily receiving the gift from his grandfather. Grandpa, it's really okay, it's at least 100 square meters inside, I can put a lot of things in it. Zhishan was very happy about the storage bag his grandfather gave him. It doesn't look special from the outside, but it has something special inside. The medicinal materials you have are enough, but if you feel that they are not enough in the future, Grandpa will give you another space magic weapon. But the materials are limited now, so make do with it. Hians is also very happy that he has mastered the storage bag. It will also be a means of making money in the future. Mei Shui took the storage bag and looked around. She always felt that it was very different from the one she gave to Hians before. So she couldn't help but ask. Ans, is the storage bag I gave you better than this one? Mei Shui asked a little uncertainly. Because it's too long ago. Hians was stunned, but he took out the storage bag he had always carried. It was very delicate, like a peace knot, and he always carried it with him. This is much better. At this time, Hians had to admit that the one he had practiced was really nothing. Master, don't think about it, you don't even look at the materials used in the 2 storage bags. Xiao Jin rolled his eyes at the 2 of them. Hearing this, Hians looked carefully. Not to mention, the materials of the 2 storage bags are really the same. This one I practiced even takes up the glory of the Kongming stone. Otherwise, he might not be able to practice it well. No matter what, this is his first magic weapon. Zhishan did not dislike it. Grandpa, I like this very much, this is very good. He really liked this gift that his grandfather gave him. Mei Shui also smiled and touched Zhishan's head, as long as you like it. Your grandpa will change it for you later when he practices better. Your own grandson, just pamper him. The 3 of them talked and laughed for a while, and Mei Shui also talked to Hians about the pill that Zhishan gave to the little girl. Hians laughed after hearing this. Are you attracted to her? He immediately started joking. As long as they are knowledgeable and interesting, they are also willing to make some friends. Grandpa Lima blushed in embarrassment. Great-grandmother said that his father and mother got engaged when they were very young. He also said that the uncles and uncles all found their own wives. Now it comes to him, he really can't accept it, he is still young. Hey, I'm still shy. It looks like that little girl is pretty good, he Hans joked with Zhishan on rare occasion. Grandma, look at Grandpa, he is so bad. The courtyard is filled with laughter from the grandparents and the grandson. As soon as the fourth prince recovered from his injuries, things started to progress for him in the border town. If Tang state wants to develop, it must swallow up the resources of Ning state. There is no other way. There is a powerful country around them, Qin state. If they want to avoid being targeted by powerful countries, they can only strengthen their national strength. His father is probably hopeless, so he doesn't mind replacing him early. The fourth prince is cruel, and of course he is also cruel. The emperor of Tang dynasty was forced to fall on the bed by him. Now I'm afraid he still doesn't know that someone has been tricked. Speaking of the emperor of Tang, he succeeded to the throne. His father made the decision at the top, and he had ministers who helped him at the bottom. His life was very smooth, but it was like this that he developed a temperament that was incompetent in writing and martial arts. End of this chapter.